오빤 강남스타일.
Oh hey, you're finally awake. I know it kept you waiting this time, but it's for good reason. Today, the music, we are drawing. Drawing. We are drawing. Period. Yeah. Let me get my iPad open. Today. I don't want to spoil it. I don't know. We have had a revelation. And that is upon watching the Dexter intro. You know the one. Don't look at my bald spot. It's not really a bald spot, it's just blonde. I'm just blonde, okay? My hair's growing in and I'm blonde with black hair. We're not gonna talk about it. Okay? Anywho. Come on, Discord. Come on, Discord. What I'm talking about. Some more dramatic music, hold on. What I'm talking about is this. It left? Why did I leave the call? I didn't leave the call. Okay, there we go. It's this! Hold on. Hold on. It's this! That. This little creature. This is what we're drawing today. Is that a ball spot? Ah! He is not bald. And I don't ever want to hear that again. He's a fish. He doesn't have hair. Anyways, this is what we're talking about. Right here. This. Okay? See that? This is what we're talking about. This little fucker called a mosquito. Oh! Called a mosquito. In the Dexter intro. Hold on. This little guy. Look at him doing his... Look at him do his little jig. Look at him do his stupid little dance. His little... Hold on. Little mosquito dance. Look at him being stupid as shit. Anyways. I had a thought. Upon watching this. I've been rewatching Dexter. Okay, this music is a little too triumphant now. Everybody just calm down. Everybody calm down. Anyways, back to the mosquito. When I was watching Dexter, he hit this shit. I don't know if you can hear the actual audio. I don't think you can. It's muted anyways. He hits that bitch. And it makes an auditory slap. And I thought, every time, like, because sometimes I watch and I'm not looking because I'm doing something, and every time I think he's slapping, like, someone on the ass. Because it's such a fucking... Can't do it. Hold on. Yeah. He's smiling because he knows it too, and he's like, damn, mosquito got a fatty. Now we know why flies are always rubbing their hands together like this, because they're looking at their brother, their cousin, the mosquito, like, holy shit, dude, you been in the gym? This music isn't right either. we're not doing that anymore. Okay, the bit's over. I'm gonna get out of the bit music. Go back into background music. Mice on Venus. Anywho. So I've already taken it upon myself to start drawing a little bit. I don't know how to animate. We're also learning how to animate in Procreate, which Procreate is free. So if you got a little iPad, I think it's only iPad, maybe only like Apple products. I don't know if you could use it on a Mac, but whatever. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna hope it doesn't look like shit. But I have already begun. I've already begun here. I've gotten 3 frames done. Okay. And that's what we're doing for this stream today. I'm breaking off of Never Ending Halloween. Yeah, so I said, what if we had a mosquito with a fat ass? The Minecraft music in the back. Yes, so take a look at the other layers. This is just a work in progress, of course. Anywho. In motion. I've never animated anything before, but we're gonna do it. Alright, so while you watch me do this, I think we're ready for the next layer. We're going to also be watching, or rather listening, to the rest of Staircase in the Woods, because I'll show you real quick. We never finished it. Properties, hello. Yes. Oh, it's behind. That's why. But we're just gonna listen to this, so it's probably just gonna go back. You know when your heater kicks on and like it smells like fucking fire? Like it almost smells like smoke. Like when your heater turns on for the first time in like months, first time in the season. I think my heater just turned on because I'm smelling like nasty heater, almost smoke smell. Disgusting. Okay. What the fuck was I doing? Girl, we gotta move you over here. Okay. Oh. Real tiny. Real tiny. Hopefully we can still hear that. I remember the eyeballs being where we left off, but... maybe 12. Oh fuck, that's not where we left off. It was like 17 or 16. 6 or 7? Numbers, where are the numbers? 17? Okay. Just go to the most replayed part.
Since
16. Okay, perfect. Perfect.
my buddy has been involved in a lot of missing persons cases where
Okay, we can
there's
still hear
never
that.
been a trace of them found. I mentioned David Paulides, and my buddy said he can confirm that.
Before we get going on this, if you didn't watch the search and rescue video, the scary video that we watched last time, it is basically, I don't remember if it's real or not. I don't think it's real, but it's a Reddit scary story amalgamation, you know, threads from this guy, and it's Corpse Husband narrating it. It's very popular, so we're watching it. It's a good story. Frick you, search and rescue.
Those stories are, for the most part, accurate. He said that
Alright.
most of the time, if the
Yeah.
person isn't found right away,
Yeah.
they're either never found,
Let's get
or
right
they're
back
found
into it.
weeks, months,
So,
or years later.
we got our little-
and in places they can't
Not that.
possibly have gotten to.
Our
One story he
little,
told me really stood out that involved
reference?
a 5-year-old boy with a severe mental disability. The little boy vanished
Mr.
from
Mosquito?
a picnic area in the late fall.
I don't think I'll
in
need
addition
this.
to the mental disability,
I
he was
got
also
the
physically
gist down.
handicapped, and his parents explained
Alright, I'll stop
over
talking for a
and
sec,
over that he
so we can hear
simply
this.
could not have vanished. It was impossible. Someone had to have taken him. My buddy said they searched for this kid for weeks, going miles out of the accepted range, but it was like he'd never been there. The dogs couldn't pick up his scent anywhere, not even in the picnic area where he'd apparently vanished from. Suspicion fell on the parents, but it was pretty clear that they were devastated and
Parents
hadn't
took the
done
child.
anything sinister to their kid. The search was concluded about a month later, and my buddy said everyone had
Wipe
pretty
it
much
off.
forgotten about it by later in the winter. He was out on a training op in the snow on one of the higher peaks when he came across
Let's
something
see.
in the snow. He said he saw it from far away at first, and when he got closer, he realized it was
I'm
a
also gonna
shirt,
add audio to this
frozen
once
and
it's an
sticking partway
animation,
out
just
of
like
the powder.
a moan,
He recognized
probably.
it as belonging to
That's
the
why he
kid
looks like
because it
that.
had a distinctive pattern. About 20 yards away, he
Let's
found
see.
the kid's body, laying partially buried in the snow. My buddy said there was no way the kid had been dead for any more than a few days, even though he'd been missing for almost 3 months. The kid was curled around something, and when my buddy brushed off the snow to see what it was, he said he almost couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was a big chunk of ice that had been carved crudely to look sort of like a person. The kid was holding it so tight that it had frostbitten his chest and hands, which my buddy could tell even with the decay that had taken place. He radioed the rest of the crew and they took the body off the mountain. Now, he recapped all of this for me, and to put it simply, there was no way this kid could have survived for almost 3 months on his own or have gotten to this peak. There was no physical way this child could have walked almost 50 miles and ended up on the top of a goddamn mountain. To top it off, there was nothing in the kid's stomach or colon.
I could have done that.
Nothing. Not even water. It was like my buddy said. The kid had been taken off the face of the earth, put in suspended animation, and dropped on this mountain months later, only to die of exposure. He's never really gotten over that one. The last story I'll share from him was one that took place relatively recently, only a few months ago. They were out doing a recon for mountain lions because there had been several reports of sightings in the last couple of days. One of our jobs is to scout the areas where these animals are seen to ensure that if they are in that area, we can warn people and close off the trails. He was out on his own in a very heavily forested part of the park toward dusk
You're gonna
when
draw
he heard
Morty.
what sounded like a woman screaming in the distance. Now,
seems
as
simple
most
to
of
draw.
you know, when a mountain lion screams, it sounds almost exactly
I can't remember
like
what
a
his hair
woman
looks like.
being
I think it goes
brutally
down like
murdered.
this.
It's unsettling, but far from abnormal.
That's
My
not
buddy
Morty.
radioed back and let ops know what
Is
he
it
had
really
heard
only
and
up
that he
here?
was going
Yeah,
to
it
keep
is.
going to see if he could figure out where its territory started. He heard the mountain lion scream a couple more
What
times,
does Morty
always
look
from
like?
the same spot, and determined the approximate area of the mountain lion's territory. He was about to head back when he heard another scream, this time only within a
this what he
few
looks
yards
like?
of him. Of course, he freaks out and starts heading back at a much faster pace, because the last thing he wants is to run into a goddamn mountain lion and get mauled to death. As he got back on the path and started heading back, the screaming followed him and he broke into a jog. When he was about a mile from ops, the
Ghostface
screaming
Morty.
stopped, and he turned around to see if it was following him. It was almost night by this point, but he said in the distance, just
That's not
before the
Morty.
path rounded a corner,
That's not Morty.
he could see what looked like a male figure.
Okay.
He called out to them, warning them that the
Scariest
path
figure,
was
a
closed
male
and
figure.
that he needed to come back to the welcome center. The figure just stood there, and my buddy started to walk over. When he was about
Y'all, does your
10 yards
arthritis
away,
ever itch?
the figure took, as he described, an impossibly long step toward him and let out the same scream my buddy had been hearing. My buddy didn't even say anything. He just turned and sprinted back to Ops, never looking behind him. By the time he got back, the screaming had moved back into the woods. He didn't mention it to anyone
schools
else,
for pupils, yeah.
just said that there was a mountain
That's my
lion
favorite
in the
part.
area and that they would need to close the path until the animal could be located and moved. I'm going to end this entry here. I'm going to be heading out on a yearly
All right.
training op tomorrow morning, so I'll be gone
Continuing.
until early next week. I'll be
Don't really
meeting
need all
with a
that.
lot of former
What's this one?
trainers and buddies who work in other areas of the park, and I'll be asking around about any stories they'd like to share. Once I'm back from this op, I'll continue to share them. Hey guys, I'm back from my training op,
Hey
and I have
guys.
a lot of really interesting stories to
see.
share with you. I've got enough that I'm going to break them into 2 parts, this being the first. I'd love to put them all in one entry, but I just haven't had the chance to write them all down yet. I didn't have anything too crazy
my
happen
headset
while
just
I was
died.
out there, but we did have
Girl.
one incident with a rookie that I found
I
relevant.
think it just straight up
I'll
turned
assign
off.
each batch of stories to the person who told them
Why?
to me. Let's start with KD. KD is a vet who's been a search and rescue officer for about 15 years. She specializes in high elevation mountain rescues and is widely
I love it when it's a
considered
little
one of the
lumpy.
best in
That like
her
makes it
field.
funnier.
She was one of the more enthusiastic storytellers, and since we were together a fair amount during exercises, she ended up telling me about 4 that really stuck with me. The first one she told me in response to me asking about her most traumatic calls. She shook her head and told me that really bad calls happen more frequently on the mountain since the potential for nasty accidents is higher. About 5 years ago, one of the parks she worked at had a string of disappearances. It was a bad year, she said. One of the worst on record as far as weather went. They were getting about a foot of new snow every couple of days, and there were a few avalanches that killed some climbers. They warned people about staying on the mapped areas, but of course, there's always those who don't listen. In one particular nasty case, an entire family got wiped out because the father decided he knew better than the officials, and he took them into an area that wasn't safe. They were snowshoeing, and as best as KD can figure, they'd walked into a shelf of snow that looked solid, but actually wasn't. It gave way, and this family went ass over tea kettle almost 300 feet down a slope. They landed on the rocks at the bottom, and the parents died instantly. One of the kids did as well, but the other 2 survived. One had a broken leg and fractured ribs. The other was almost unharmed except for some bruising and a sprained ankle. The uninjured child left his sibling behind and set out to find help. KD said that the kid didn't make it more than
How do we
half
want
a
to do
mile
them now?
before the storm
It's gonna be
overtook
kind
him.
of the same
The
thing.
kid stopped to try to get warm or maybe just some rest and ended up freezing to death. They ended up finding the family with the help of some witnesses who saw them heading out into the wilderness, and she was the one to find the kid that had frozen to death looking for help. She said it had started to snow just enough to obscure long-distance vision, but not enough to make searching impossible. She saw a figure sitting in the snow up ahead, and she got to it as quickly as possible. She described, in detail, how as she got closer, she realized first that it was a child, second, that they were deceased, and third, that they had frozen in one of the most pitiful positions she's ever found a corpse in. The kid was sitting upright, with his knees tucked up against his chest. His arms were curled around them, and his head was tucked up in his coat. When she moved the coat to look at his face, she saw that he had died crying. His face was twisted and the tears were frozen on his cheeks. She said it was painfully obvious that the kid was terrified when he succumbed to hypothermia, and as a mother, it broke her heart. She told me, repeatedly, that she hopes the father is burning in hell as we speak.
I want him to kind of have fat, juicy lips, but also...
The other traumatic story she told me that stood out, in my mind, was one that happened when she was a rookie. Her team got a report of an experienced
Oh, there we
climber
go.
who hadn't come home the
There
previous
we go.
day. His wife was convinced that something bad had happened because he'd never failed to come home on time. They went out looking for him and had to climb what sounded like some very technically challenging parts of the mountain.
Girl.
They got
Sometimes
to a
my wrist
relatively
just like
flat
gives
area,
out. It's like,
and
yeah, we're not
KD
gonna
started
do
seeing
that.
blood in the snow. She followed the trail, and as she went, she started seeing little bits of tissue. She
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
sure
dog.
exactly what body part
He's
it had
feeling
come
that.
from,
He's really
but
feeling
the
that.
farther she followed it, the more there was. She follows this blood and tissue trail to a sheltered area under a cliff face, and she finds the climber. She said there was so much blood, more than she'd ever seen before. He was lying face down, one arm stretched in front of him as if he'd died crawling. She looks closer and sees that he's been partially disemboweled, which is where the tissue she'd seen had come from. The guy has an ice pick tucked into a hip holster and it's covered in blood. Of course, they'll never be sure exactly what happened, but she said as best as she can figure, this is what went down. The guy had been attempting to climb up to the next area and had been using his ice axe to ascend. He'd probably hit a loose patch and had fallen. On the way down, or possibly when he landed, he got impaled by the axe and it had disemboweled him. He'd drug himself along, tearing pieces of himself out as he went,
Ow.
and died under the cliff face.
Chat, if
She
you
isn't
were
terribly
in that
bothered
position,
by gore, but
would
I
you
guess a few
crawl
of the guys
and
who came to
disembowel
help her
yourself?
remove the body threw up when they turned him
That
over,
doesn't
and
sound
a good
likely,
portion of
but
his
I mean,
intestines spilled out.
You're not in your state of mind, so maybe. I feel like I would not. I might patch myself up a bit.
I mentioned to her that I
Wait.
was interested in hearing about any experiences she had with people completely disappearing. Her eyes light up, and she leans in close to me. "Wanna hear a real doozy?" she asks. She tells
real
me about
doozy.
how, when she first started, there was a case that got a lot of attention in the media. A family had been out berry picking in an area of the
Why are they
forest
always
very
berry
close
picking?
to the
I
entrance
feel like I
of the
said this
park.
before.
They had 2 little boys, both under the age of 5, and at some point during the day, one of them vanishes. There's an absolutely massive search, and they find absolutely nothing. It's another one of those cases where it's like, the kid was never there in the first place. The dogs just sit down and don't pick up on
Almond.
anything.
Looks
No
like an
trace of the
almond.
kid is found. The search goes on for about 2 months, but is eventually
Let's
called
see.
off. Fast forward to 6 months later. The family comes back to place flowers at a memorial that's been set up for the kid. They bring their other son. While they're placing the flowers, they lose sight of the kid for about 3 seconds. And in that span of time, he vanishes into thin air. Now, obviously, the parents are beyond devastated. It's awful enough to lose one child, but to lose 2 is beyond imagining. The search is huge, one of the largest in state
Huge.
history. There are about 300 volunteers combing every inch of this
I get
park
delirious?
looking
Yeah,
for the kid.
that's what I was thinking.
But again,
They can't take anything
there's
serious
no
with that
trace of
giant
him.
ass.
The search goes on for about a week, with people looking miles from the part of the park he vanished from. And then, almost 2 weeks later,
Let's see,
a
let's
volunteer
see.
about 15 miles from the designated search area radios in that he's found the kid. They assume that the kid was dead, but the volunteer says he's not only alive, but he's in good shape too. KD and her team go out to recover the kid, and when they get there, she can't believe that this is the same kid that's been missing. His clothes are clean, there's no dirt on him anywhere, and he doesn't appear traumatized. The volunteer says he found the kid sitting on a log, playing with a little twig bundle that's bound together with some old rope. KD asks him where he's been, and who he was with for 2 weeks. And the kid tells her that he's been with the Fuzzy Man. Now,
He's been with
KD
the
firmly
Fuzz?
believes in Bigfoot, so she gets all excited and asks what he means by fuzzy. Was he hairy? But the kid says no, he wasn't hairy. He was a fuzzy man, and he describes a man that's blurry, like when you close your eyes, but not all the way closed. He says
creepy.
the man came out
Oh,
of
shit.
the trees and took the kid with him deep into the
Obligatory.
woods. The kid says he
I
slept
forgot
in
about
a
this.
hollow tree, and the fuzzy man gave him berries to eat. KD asks if the man was mean, if he scared the kid, and the kid says No, he wasn't scary, but I didn't like how he didn't have eyes. KD says they get the kid
I didn't
back
like
to
how he didn't have
headquarters,
eyes.
and a cop takes him into town to talk to him more about what happened. She's friends
Oh,
with
yeah.
the cop that talked
Is that
to
for
him.
the thumbnail?
She said
No,
the
I
kid
just have
described
one.
being kept in his
I guess
tree
I
by the fuzzy
could use it
man
as a thumbnail.
and
I think I've
given
used it as a
berries
thumbnail
whenever
once.
he was hungry.
But
He was allowed to wander around in a
it's just
very
my
specific
Celsi check.
clearing, but when he tried to go further, the fuzzy man would get mad and yell real loud even though he didn't have a mouth. When the kid got scared,
I have
at
no
night,
mouth, but I
the
must
fuzzy
scream.
man made it go brighter and gave him the twig bundle. He said the fuzzy man was going to keep him, but he had to let him go because the kid wasn't the right kind. He either can't or won't elaborate more on that. The cops are just sort of left scratching their heads, and the search for his brother is renewed with no results. The kid has no idea where his brother might be, and they never find him.
Awesome. Great resolution to the story. Oh god. It's way too
The last
fat.
story that KD told me was of something that happened to her when she got separated from her training group when she was a rookie. They were learning the basics of high elevation belaying on a well-mapped side of a mountain, and she had to use the bathroom. She went off about 50 yards from the group during a meal break and did her business.
Can I not
I'll tell
draw
the
from
rest
that
exactly
angle?
as she
Oh,
told
it's
it
even
to
worse
me.
over there.
So I go to take a piss, and once I'm done, I start going back to the group. But I've only gotten about 5 feet when I realized that I have no idea where I am. And this wasn't a, oh, I got turned around lost. I mean, I literally had no fucking clue where I was. If you'd ask me, I don't even think I'd be able to tell you what state we were in. It was sort of how I imagine people with amnesia feel, you know? You are completely lost and you have no idea what to do.
Get this right?
So I stood there for a while, just trying to figure out where the fuck I was and what I was supposed to do. But the longer I stand there, the more confused and turned around I get. So I started walking. As I recall, I just picked a random direction and went for it. And as I'm walking, it's just getting worse and worse to the point where I have no concept of why I'm on the mountain in the first place. I'm just trudging through the snow, and then I start hearing this voice. It's kind of inside my head almost. Like if a frog could talk, all low and croaky, and it's been telling me over and over, it's okay, you just need to find something to eat. Find something to eat and you'll be okay, just keep walking and find something to eat. So I start looking around for anything that I can eat, and I swear to God, I've never felt that hungry in my whole life. It was bottomless, and I think I'd have eaten just about anything you put in front of me right then. I had no concept of time, so I had no idea how long I'd been out there when I hear an actual voice coming toward me. I go toward it and see one of the other search and rescue officers, and he looks fucking terrified. He's running toward me, asking if I'm okay and what the hell I'm doing out here. And the scary thing was, as he's running toward me, I kind of see myself reaching out into my belt for my hunting knife. I'm not even really thinking about what I'm doing, but what I am thinking is that I have to eat. If I don't eat, I'll never be okay again, so I just have to eat. He sees me doing that, and he backs off right away. He yells at me to put my knife away and that he's not gonna hurt me. And that's what kind of snaps me back. All of a sudden, I know exactly where I am and I put the knife away. I run to him and ask him how long I've been gone for, thinking he'll tell me I've been gone for about half an hour or so. But he tells me I've been gone for 2 fucking days. I've gone over 2 peaks and ended up almost on the other side of the mountain, and if I'd kept going, I would have ended up wandering into about 300 miles of wilderness. They would have never found me. He can't believe I'm not dead, and of course I don't know what the fuck to think. To me, no time has passed at all. I don't say anything, I just go back with him to a rendezvous point and I'm taken back to HQ to be airlifted to the hospital. When I get there, they do all kinds of tests and try to figure out what happened. As best as they can guess, I had some kind of weird fugue state, which is kind of like amnesia or a weird seizure that knocked my brain out of whack. But the truth is that we don't really know. It's never happened again, but I'll tell you, ever since then, I never go out there alone. People rag on me for making them come with me when I have to leave the group, but I just tell them that listening to me piss in the snow is better than losing me for 2 fucking days on a freezing mountain. The next person I talked to was EW, a former trainer who now works as an EMT. He still comes to ops like this to help out, but doesn't work full-time for us anymore. He specialized in finding lost kids. He just seemed to have a sixth sense when it came to knowing where they'd gone. He's a legend among the senior vets, but he gets embarrassed if you compliment him on his work. He sat down with me at dinner one evening and we ended up swapping stories. Most of them were just casual, but when we got on the subject of our more weirder calls, I mentioned that I had a buddy who had went up a set of stairs. He got kind of quiet and asked me if I'd heard of a little boy who disappeared from his park a few years back. I hadn't, so he told me this story. They were out looking for this 11-year-old boy, Joey, who had gone missing near a river. Of course, the first thought was that he'd fallen in and drowned, but when they brought dogs out, they led search and rescue officers away from the river and up into a very densely forested area. When we do searches for people, we search in a grid pattern and we searched every box of the grid and incredibly thoroughly. What EW's team noticed right away was that a very strange pattern was emerging. Dogs in alternating boxes were picking up Joey's scent, but losing it when they overlapped with another box. If you think of a checkerboard, Joey's scent was being picked up in random black squares, but never in red. This, of course, didn't make any sense, because how could this kid bounce from area to area without leaving a scent in each box he passed? EW and his partner pass into a new box of the grid, and EW notices a set of stairs about 50 yards away. He tells his partner that they need to go check near it, but his partner flat out refuses. He tells EW that he's made it a point to never go near any stairs he sees, and that while it may be routine, he's not to pretend that it's normal.
This line is killing me.
He tells EW that he'll wait in sight while EW checks. EW says that he was irritated, but he felt for the guy, and he didn't push him on the subject. He started speaking. I walked over to the stairs. They were small, kind of like stairs into a basement. I don't really feel strongly one way or the other about them. The stairs, I mean, so I wasn't scared or anything. I guess I'm like everyone else, and I just prefer not to think about them too much. Anyway, I went over and I could see that there was something lying on the bottom step, sort of curled up. My heart sinks because, of course, you always hope for the best. And we were confident that we'd find this kid alive because he'd only been missing for a few hours. But I knew right away that it was him and that he was dead. He was curled up in a little ball on the step, holding his stomach. It looked like he'd been in horrible pain when he died, but I didn't see any blood, except some on his lips and chin. I radioed in that I'd found him.
I didn't see any
got
blood,
his body
except
back to
some.
command. That poor family. God, they were devastated. The parents couldn't understand how he'd been dead, cause he'd only been gone for such a short amount of time. And on top of that, we didn't have any obvious cause of death, which made it worse. I figured he'd probably eaten something poisonous since he was holding his stomach when I found him, but I didn't want to guess. It's hard enough to hear that your kid is dead, let alone some stupid search and rescue guy guessing about what happened. They took him away and I went home and tried not to think about it. I hate finding dead kids, man. I loved this job, but it's one of the reasons I left. I've got 2 daughters, and the thought of losing them that way just... He choked up a little bit here. I'm not great with emotional stuff like that, and it's always sort of awkward to see a grown man cry, so I didn't really know what to do. He pulled himself together eventually though, and he kept going. We don't always hear back from the coroners about cause of death. It's not really our job to know, I guess, and sometimes if they think it's foul play, they won't tell us because of the legal bullshit. But I've got a friend who works for the sheriff's department, and he'll usually pass along any interesting info I ask about. In this case, though, I actually got a call from him about a week later. He asked me if I remember the kid, and of course, I do. And he says some seriously weird shit is going on. He tells me, EW, man, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but the coroner has no idea what happened to this kid. He's never seen anything like it. My friend goes on to tell me that when the coroner opened the kid up, he couldn't even believe what he was seeing. The kid's organs were like Swiss cheese. Quarter-sized holes were punched clean through just about every single organ this kid had, aside from his heart and lungs. But his colon, his stomach, his kidneys, and even one of his
Wobbly
testicles
lines.
were full of holes.
Testicles?
My friend said the coroner described it as if someone had taken a hole puncher and punched holes out of everything. They were so neat, but the kid didn't have a scratch on him, no entry or
Wobbly
exit
lines.
wounds. The closest anyone there had ever seen like it was a guy who'd
Did I
filled
just say
himself
that?
full
I'm pretty
of
sure I just
buckshot
said that.
a year or so back
The
while
fuck?
cleaning his rifle. No one had a clue what possibly could have caused it. My friend asked me if I'd ever heard of anything like it, or if we'd had similar cases in the past. But I'd never even heard of something like that, and I told him that I wasn't going to be of any help to him. As far as I know, the coroner determined the cause of death as something like massive internal bleeding, but no one knows what really happened. I've never been able to forget that kid. I have nightmares about it sometimes. I used to love it out here, but that case and a couple others just sort of ruined it for me. Dinner was over, so we started to clean up and go back to our cabins. Before we went our separate ways, he put his hand on my shoulder and looked at me really close. He tells me that there's been bad things out here. Things that don't care if we have families or lives or that we can think and feel. He tells me to be careful and walks away. I didn't have a chance to talk with him again, but that story stuck with me.
Mosquito looks like he's talking about that macaroni with the chicken strips line. Macaroni with the chicken strips.
By pure coincidence,
Oh.
I got to talk to another
Yeah.
vet, PB, who's been in
That's
the
the
search
moan
and
I'm going
rescue
for.
field for years. We were partnered on a grid sweep during a training exercise, and we were chatting casually about how we liked the job, what kinds of things we'd seen, and stuff like that. At one point, we passed an old set of stairs, though these were probably an old fire lookout, given the area that we were in. I sort of casually mentioned that I was curious about the stairs, and that I wished I knew more about them. He got kind of quiet and looked like he wanted to tell me something, but wasn't sure if he should. Finally, he told me to turn my radio off. Obviously, this is something we are never, ever supposed to do, but I did it, and he did the same. About 7 years ago, he tells me, he was out on a call with a rookie. They were in an area of the park that's had a lot of strange reports and events. Disappearances, stories about lights in the forest, odd noises, things like that. The rookie was totally spooked, kept going on and on about things in the woods. According to PB, the guy wouldn't stop talking about the Goat Man. Just on and on, Goat Man this and Goat Man that. Finally, I told him that there was plenty else to be afraid of out here that was very real, and that he'd better get over this thing with the Goat Man. The rookie wanted to know what kinds of things I was talking about, and I just told him to shut up and walk. We crested a little ridge, and there was a staircase about 10 yards ahead. The rookie stops dead in his tracks and just stands there looking at them. I tell him, see, that's something you should be afraid of. The rookie asks me what the hell these things are doing out here, and for some reason, I just open up and tell him the truth, or
The
what
stairs.
I've been told is the truth. I could have gotten in a lot of trouble for doing what I did, and I could get in a lot of trouble for repeating it to you. But you're a nice kid, and I want you to stop looking into this. Please, just quit while you're ahead. So, I'll tell you what I know, under the condition that you never breathe a
I'll
word
tell
of
you what I
this
know.
to the subs. I told him I wouldn't say a word, and he double checks that our radios are off. He began. When I first started out, we were a little less tight-lipped about them and other things that happen out here. We warned people before they were even hired that there was weird shit going on. I guess the Forest Service was tired of having such a massive turnover rate and they wanted more people to know what they were getting into. So they started having people sign these agreements that they wouldn't go to the media about what they were going to see. The FS didn't want to scare people away, so the last thing they needed were spooked rookies running off to the media with stories of ghosts and haunted stairs. But eventually, they found that the agreements weren't necessary. People not only didn't want to talk about what they saw, they wouldn't talk about it at all. A few times, media tried to talk to people when kids or hikers would disappear and no one would say a word. I can't really explain it. I guess we just don't really want to admit anything is wrong. This is our job, to be out in the woods every single day. We don't need to be spooked, and the best way to avoid that is to pretend like everything's okay. So, I'll tell you everything I can think of, and after that, I'm done talking about it for good. And I expect you not to bring it up around me. Ever. The stairs have been out here for as long as the parks have existed. We have records going back decades describing them. Sometimes people go up them and nothing happens. Other times... Look, I really don't like talking about this, but sometimes really bad shit happens. I saw one guy get his hand sliced clean off when he got to the top step. He reached out to touch a tree branch and it happened so fast. 1 second his hand was there, and the next, it was gone. Completely clean off. We couldn't find his hand, and the guy almost died. Another time, a woman touched one of the stairs, and a blood vessel in her brain exploded. Literally exploded, like a water balloon. She sort of stumbled down and came over to me, and all she got
That's
out
all the
was,
back legs.
"I think something is wrong with me." She dropped like a sack of flour, dead before she hit the ground. I'll never forget the way the blood leaked into the inside of her eye. Before she died, I watched it turn red. I watched it happen, and there wasn't a single thing I could do to help. We warn people not to go anywhere near them, but there's always at least one idiot that does. And even if nothing happens to them, something bad always happens. Kids go missing as we're on their trail, someone dies the next day, cut in half in a completely safe area of the park. I don't know why, but something bad always happens. I don't know exactly why they're out here, but it doesn't matter. They're here, and if we were smart, we'd tell our new officers exactly what they're capable of. We were both quiet for a little while. I was afraid to talk because I wasn't even sure if he was done. He looked like he wanted to say something else. Finally, he spoke up again. "Have you ever noticed how you can't find the same ones twice?" I nodded, expecting him to continue, but he just stayed quiet, walking alongside me, and eventually he started a story about the biggest deer he'd ever seen in the park. I didn't bring up the subject again, and I didn't press him for any more stories. He dropped out of the op the next day. Apparently he left before the sun came up. He said he was sick. None of us have heard from him since he left. I'm going to stop here for the time being. I'll try and post the next part in the next coming days, but with it being the end of summer, things are pretty busy here. Writing all of this out really awakened the curiosity in me that I didn't know I had. I apologize for the short update this time around. Things have gotten a little crazy around here, and I'm not sure how often I'll be able to update going forward. And while I only have a
Talking
couple
really
of
paints a
stories
vivid
to share
picture.
with
Yeah,
you on
I really
this
like
update,
Corpse
I'll be
Husband. He
interested to
used
see
to
what
be
you
a lot
all
more
think.
active on
A
YouTube, making
firefighter who was
voiceovers for
helping
like
us at the
scary
training op told me
scary
about a
Reddit
call
stories.
he went on,
But
supposedly to
I don't
help
think he
rescue
does a whole
kid
lot
from
anymore.
an absolutely massive tree.
I don't think he's
He
on
said
social
they
media
didn't
at
give
all,
him
so I don't know if he
details,
does YouTube.
just that they needed him to
But
come out
he
and
has a
help
nice,
because
soothing,
they
deep
lacked
voice.
the proper equipment. He'd been called out specifically because this thing was so huge that the search and rescue officers didn't feel safe climbing it. He had been a tree trimmer before joining the VFD, so it was easy enough for him to grab his old equipment and come help out. He was let out about 2 miles, and the team stopped at one of the biggest trees in the area and pointed up. He laughed and asked the op captain how the kid had gotten up there. He made a joke about the old cat in a tree thing, but the captain just shook his head and told him to get up there and get the kid down. He said he knew something was up, but he didn't push it. He said that as he climbed this tree, he started wondering if they were playing a prank on him. There was no way this kid should have been able to climb this fucking thing. It was massive at the base, but about halfway up it started tapering, and I almost had to turn back a few times because I really didn't think it was gonna hold me. But he said he kept going, and when he was just about at the top, he saw a flash of blue in the branches. I saw the kid's shirt, sort of caught in a branch, and I called out to him and told him to come near me if he could, but he didn't say anything. I kept moving, calling the kid's name and telling him not to be scared, that I was there to help him. By the time I got to him, I knew he wasn't gonna answer
I'm excited
me.
to see this when it's
I
done.
found him, or
This will be my
what was
first
left of
animation
him,
project.
cradled in the fork of a branch, and the fact that he was up there was sheer luck. If he'd fallen any other way, he'd have come crashing down. It wouldn't have mattered though, because this kid was dead long before he ended up in that tree.
Let's
I
take a
don't know
look.
who put him up there,
shit.
or how, or why, but it was fucking sick. Kid's intestines had popped out of his mouth and were hanging in the branches. It was like some sick fucking Christmas tree, the way they were draped all over everything.
We need more
I
booty
got a
cheek
better
lines.
look and saw that they'd even popped out of his ass. His guts were hanging out the bottom of his pants. His eyes were gone. I assumed shoved out from whatever force caused him to fucking pop like a stress ball. You ever seen a body that's been floating in water for a long time? How their tongues kind of swell up and stick out? His was like that. I remember because there were flies crawling all over it. I think I must have gone into shock because, man, I just pushed that kid down with a stick I broke off a branch. Just kind of poked him until he fell. I don't know why I did that. I almost lost my job because of it. But man, the thought of hauling that kid down over my shoulder the whole way, gathering his guts up and coiling them around me like rope so they wouldn't get snagged, I just couldn't do it. I've seen a lot of dead kids, more than I'd ever admit. I've seen a kid who hid in a full bathtub during a house fire, boiled him alive, turned him into literal soup. But this, I don't know what did this, but the thought of touching that kid's body made me feel like I was gonna lose my mind. I heard him hit the ground and I figured everyone would freak out, but they knew he was dead when they sent me up there. They didn't say anything, but they didn't shout or freak out or anything. I got to the bottom and I started to get up into the captain's face, asking him who he thought he was, sending me up there when they knew damn well that kid was dead. But he just told me it was none of my concern and thanked me for getting the evidence down. I remember he said that. I remember it specifically because it was so weird to hear it phrased that way. The evidence. Like he wasn't even a fucking person. Like he'd never been a little kid who got lost and had something fucking unspeakable happen to him. The captain had a crew lead me back out of the woods, but he and 2 others stayed behind, and I thought that was pretty weird. Why wouldn't they have had me help get the kid out? I tried asking, but the guys leading me out just told me that they couldn't discuss an open case. I asked him what he thought had happened to the kid.
I gotta make the booty move more.
And thought about it for a bit. I would have said a crash injury based on how his guts came out like that. But with those injuries, you see massive
Didn't he do a rap?
contusions
Yeah,
under
he
the
used to
skin, obvious trauma.
make music,
This wasn't
but
like that. It was almost
I
like
don't
that
think he
kid
even
got
does that
caught in a
anymore.
big
Yeah, social media
vacuum and
ruined his
had
taste
his
for more
guts
social
sucked
media.
out. But even then,
I
there
feel
was no
that.
trauma,
I took a little
none
break
at all.
from
It bothered
social
me.
media
It
for a
bothers
while,
the
like
hell out of
a couple
me.
years ago, and it was only for like I think 6 months or a year or something like that, and it helped a little.
One of the vets at the training op reads these kind
I
of
definitely
stories
went back to
online,
it,
and he
obviously, but
recognized my
I'm a
stories.
lot better
He
now
knows me
about
pretty
recognizing
well,
how
and we've
to
swapped stories
get the frick
before.
off my phone.
He asked
You know?
if he could share something he's noticed about the stairs and some thoughts he had. He said, I'm really glad you decided to share these. I think it's important that people be aware of what's out there, especially since the Forest Service is doing such a good job at covering it all up. I asked him what he meant. What do you mean, what do I mean? The lack of any kind of media attention? No coverage of missing kids or bodies found miles from where they got lost in the first place? David Paulides hit this right on the head. The FS is doing everything they can to keep people coming here, even if it isn't safe. I mean, to be fair, it's not like these things happen every day, but the numbers add up, and it's worth looking into, especially the stairs. I was surprised you didn't mention the flipped ones. I didn't know what he was talking about. I couldn't remember him ever talking about something like that. He seemed somewhat incredulous. He said, "Dude, I can't believe you've been on this long without seeing them. No one told you about them?" I shrugged and asked him to elaborate. "Well, there's the normal stairs, the ones that pop up when you're out a ways. I know you know about them, but sometimes I've run across the ones that are flipped upside down. I guess it would be like if you had a dollhouse and the stairs were a separate piece. Now take that,
I don't know how to make
flip
it look like
upside
this
down so the
part
top step is
is
stuck in the
jiggling
dirt,
this
and
way.
put it out in the woods. They're like that. I don't see them as often, but they're odd to say the least. Makes me think of footage taken
like
after a tornado, when houses are all blown apart and random things are left standing, like chimneys and garden walls. Those ones freak me out more than the normal ones because I can't really write those off as easily. I don't scare very easily, like most of us who work out here, but that idea stuck with me and it bothers me. I'm going to try and find out more about them. He also mentioned how many people were bothered by the guy with no face. He got really excited and told me he'd seen something similar. He said, "I was out on a training exercise a few years ago. I was camped out inside my tent and I heard someone walking around outside of camp. We're told not to wander far, which, you know, so I wondered if maybe it was a rookie who'd gotten up to pee and couldn't find his way back. Remember that guy in our group a few years back who almost fell off a damn mountain? Well, I'm paranoid about that happening again. So I got up to see what was going on. I went to the edge of camp and I called to whoever it was and told them that camp was this way. But they kept going back out into the woods, so I went after them. I know, it was stupid, but I was half asleep and I just really didn't want to have to deal with some idiot getting hurt. I followed this thing on a dead straight course for about a mile, and then it stopped on the edge of a little river. I could see the outline of it because the water was reflecting the moon, and it looked just like an ordinary guy. He had a pack on, and it looked like he was facing me. I asked if he was okay, if he needed help, and he cocked his head like he didn't understand me. I always have my pocket knife on me, and it's got a little thumb light attached to it. So I turned that on and lit up his chest, you know, so I wouldn't blind him. He was breathing slow and deep, so I wondered if maybe he was sleepwalking. I went closer and asked him again if he was okay. I moved the light up and something didn't seem right, so I stopped. He kept breathing in these really slow, deep breaths, and I sort of figured out gradually that that's what was bothering me. It was like he was pretending to breathe, but not actually doing it. His breaths were too even and deep, and all of his movements were exaggerated, like his shoulders going up and his chest moving. I told him to identify himself, and he made this muffled noise. I moved the light up, and I shit you not, this guy had no face, just smooth skin. I freaked out and I sort of fumbled my light, but I saw him move toward me.
Getting
but
mad
he
at a
didn't
guy for a
actually
smooth skin.
move. I don't know how to explain it, but one second he was at the edge of the river, and the next he was 5 feet from me. I never looked away or blinked, but it was like he moved so fast my brain couldn't keep up. I tripped and fell on my ass, and I could see this line open up on his throat. It stretched up to his ears, and his head tilted back, and he smiled at me with his throat. There wasn't any blood,
at me with his throat.
This gaping dark hole. And I swear he smiled at me with his gash in his
So
throat.
how do I make it
got
so
up and I ran as fast as I could back to camp. I couldn't hear him following me,
you,
but
like,
I felt like he was
see
always
the hand
right
coming
behind
off?
me, even though when I looked back I couldn't see him. I calmed down
classic.
when I got back to camp.
Shoot.
The fire was still going, and
Kinda
I
looks
guess
like a
that
foot.
pack mentality of being with other people made me stop and breathe a little. I waited by the fire to see if he'd follow me there, but I didn't hear anything else for a few hours, so I went back to bed. I know it sounds weird, but the whole thing was just so surreal that it was almost like I immediately wrote it off as my imagination.
Doesn't really.
We were telling ghost stories one night before bed just to scare each other and poke fun at whoever got creeped out. Most of the time it's the rookies, but one woman told a story that actually managed to get under my skin a little bit, and I know the same could be said about the others.
Might mess with that
She said
later.
it was true, but then again, every ghost story told around a campfire is true. Somehow, though, I don't think she was making it up.
Girl.
It had that ring of
Show.
truth that only really traumatizing events have. She said that when she was a kid, she and her friend used to go out in the woods behind her house a lot. She lived in northern Maine, where there's a lot of dense, unpopulated national forest. She said the
Is this
woods
the
up there
same?
aren't like they are here. They're so thick in places that the trees block out
Yeah,
the
okay.
sun
Making
almost
sure it's the same to you.
completely. She and her friend grew up there, so they weren't scared of being out there alone. But they did always maintain a sense of caution in certain areas. She said it was never really talked about, but they always knew not to go more than a mile or two beyond their homes. The adults never said why, but it was an unspoken rule that no one ventured out that far. She and her friend made up stories about bears as big as houses that lived out there, and they used to scare each other by hiding and making growling noises while the others searched for them. She said one summer, there was a series of awful storms that blew down a lot of trees, and even set one part of the forest a few miles behind her house on fire. Fire crews got it under control, but she said some of them came back not quite the same. She started speaking. Apparently, it was like
already
they'd been to
speaking.
war. You could tell who'd really gotten scared because they had the same look on their faces. I think it's called shell shock. My friend and I said they were like walking dead people. They didn't smile or say anything if you went up to them, and most of them left town as soon as everything was over. I asked my parents about it, but they said they didn't know what I was talking about. Once everyone was told the woods were safe again, my friend and I decided to try and hike out to where the fire had been. We didn't tell our parents where we were going, and it was pretty exciting to think that we were disobeying them like that. We hiked out about 2 miles or so,
hidden. I
and we
didn't
started
do
seeing
that.
burnt trees and stuff. I remember my friend got really upset because we found the skeleton of a deer curled up under a tree, and I practically had to drag her away. She wanted to bury it, but I didn't want her touching it because its antlers were weird. I can't remember why, I just remember thinking that there was something wrong with them, and I didn't want either of us going near it. The farther we went, the
That
more
deer got
burnt
hepatitis.
everything got. Eventually, there were no standing trees,
Why is
and
this
it
part
was
so
like being
thick?
on another planet. Almost nothing green, just brown and black everywhere. We were standing there looking at it all, and we both heard something shouting in the distance. I panicked because I thought it was my dad and that he was going to tell me I was grounded. My friend
cousin
broke off
freak.
and went to go hide under a big rock because she said she didn't want to be caught out here. Her parents had forbidden her to come out in the woods at all, and she lied and told them we were going to go see a movie. I followed her, and we kept listening. I could hear this voice getting closer, and I realized they were calling for help. I thought maybe it was some hiker who'd gotten lost and needed directions back to town. That used to happen all the time, so I was used to helping people out. I heard him following my voice, so I kept calling out until I saw him running in the distance. He got closer, and I could see that his face was all red. I told my friend to give me her pack because she had a first aid kit. She made this noise like she was grossed out, and she asked if I saw his face. I told her to shut up, and I jogged up to meet him. I stopped about halfway, and when he stopped in front of me, I could see that his nose and lips and part of his forehead were all gone. It was like they'd been sliced clean off. He was bleeding bad, and I saw that the knees of his pants were red too. I took a step back, but I was too scared to move much, and he grabbed my shoulders. It felt like I got a shock, and he jerked back. He started babbling, and I couldn't tell what he was saying, except that he kept asking how long he'd been gone for. He asked me where his unit was, but I
like
just shook my head.
like,
he looked me over
slick
and saw my
lines.
Walkman, and he screamed.
I'm gonna make
He
him
just
wiggly.
kept babbling and touching his face, and I realized he wasn't wearing the right clothing. He had some
Straight
kind
lines
of
are
weird
good
gray
for
cloth jacket and
solid
almost
contacts,
formal
like the
pants
slap.
on. And the jacket had these
But I feel like
weird
wiggly
buttons
lines,
and red
or
borders
like
on
this,
it. I kept shaking my head, and I told him I couldn't understand what he was
to where
saying.
the actual
I
skin
went
is
to
kind of
open the first
folding,
aid kit, but
but
he just screamed again
for a
and
slap,
said the only thing I could
and maybe
really
for
understand,
like a slight jiggle.
"Don't touch me, you'll make me go back there." After that, he ran off, and I could hear him screaming the whole time.
Maybe like a
When I
squiggly-
couldn't hear him anymore, I turned around, and my friend was crying. I just turned around and started walking back toward town. She asked me over and over what had happened and who that was, but I didn't say anything. When we got home, I told her I didn't want to play in the woods with her anymore. We're still friends.
I don't want to
but
play with you no
we
more.
don't talk about that guy.
Fuck off, little dot.
Not ever. I'll update as soon as I'm able to again, guys.
You know what?
I appreciate
have
the
free will. I could
continued
just-
support. Hey guys, so it's been way too
Anyways,
long since I posted
I'm not
an
gonna do
update,
that.
and I'm sorry about that. So these next few stories are going to be told a little differently.
Was I
Since
doing?
these next stories are going to be in chronological order,
see.
I'll no longer need to use the
Squigglies?
transition on
Yes.
screen to go to the next story.
Squigglies? Okay.
I'll do my best to tie them into each other as much as I can so it doesn't skip around too much. When I started out as a rookie, no one had told me a lot about the job in terms of weird things that could happen. I'm assuming this was to prevent me from freaking out and abandoning the park.
Don't freak
But
out.
a few months
Hello.
into my service, a friend and I were
gonna
drunk at a
freak.
party, and he opened up a bit. He said, "Yeah, it can get a little crazy out there, I guess. I think the worst are the ones where people die when they just shouldn't, you know? Or when we find them dead, like 10 minutes after someone says they saw them last. They were fine when I passed them on the switchback, I swear. That sort of shit. Like, take this guy who I found one spring out on a really popular trail. Someone comes into the VC freaking out about some guy who's lying in the middle of the path in this giant pool of blood. So we run out there and we
That's not
find this
good.
guy is dead as a doornail, which he absolutely should be because the back of his head is like mashed potatoes. The skull is decimated, brains are leaking out like custard filling, and this guy's old, so you figure, yeah, he probably fell and hit his head. Old people fall all the time, it's no big deal. Except that this area where he fell doesn't have any big rocks. There's not even any stumps or big branches. And on top of that, there's no blood trail, so he clearly died where he dropped. Now, that's when you turn to murder. But there were people just out of line of sight with the guy. If someone came up behind him and murdered him, there's no way someone wouldn't have heard. And again, even if someone had, there would be a blood trail, splatter all over the place. But everyone on the scene said it looked exactly like he'd fallen and smashed his head on a rock. So what the fuck did he hit his head on? And then there was this lady I found in a different park about 5 years ago. Back when I was upstate, we found her in the middle of a stand of big junipers curled around the trunk like she was hugging it. We pick her up to move her, and a fucking waterfall comes out of her mouth, splashes all over my shoes. Her clothes are dry and her hair is dry, but the amount of water in her lungs and stomach was phenomenal. Unreal, man. Yeah, the coroner's
Unreal,
report
man.
says the cause of death was drowning. Her lungs were completely full of water, even though we're in the middle of the high desert and there isn't a body of water for miles. No puddles, no nothing. No signs of anyone else being out there. I mean, yeah, it's possible they were murdered, but why go out of the way to do it like that? Why not just stab them and be done with it? I don't know. It just sits weird with me. And that was his story. Now, of course, that freaked me out a little, but we were wasted, and I guess I sort of wrote it off as a fluke. I also assumed there was exaggeration there since, you know, we were wasted. Now, I don't like talking about this next case very much. It was an awful one that I've done my best to forget about, but of course, that's easier said than done. This happened about 6 months after the conversation with my friend at the bar, and up until that point, I hadn't had a lot of really weird shit go down. A few things here and there, and of course,
Had to
the
thin
stairs,
out the
but
ass a little
it's
bit.
amazingly easy to get used to stuff like that when it's treated as if it's
Now.
normal. This case was a little different. A guy with Down syndrome in his 20s went missing after his family lost sight of him on a major path. That was odd in and of itself because this guy never left his mom's side. She was absolutely convinced he'd been kidnapped. And unfortunately, a ranger who isn't with the park anymore insinuated that no one was going to kidnap someone, well, with that kind of disability. Not very tactful, to say the least. We wasted a lot of time trying to calm her down enough to get information about him, and then we put out an official missing persons call. Because of the urgency of the situation,
do you draw a lot? Do you have other art?
I do. We had local
not a
police
lot,
come in
but
and help us. We
I do
didn't
like
find him
my
the first night, which was heartbreaking.
you know, YouTube
None
overlays
of us wanted
and stuff,
to think of him being alone out
and make
there.
memes
We
sometimes.
assumed he'd just kept wandering and was staying ahead of us. We brought out helicopters the next day,
mostly
and
just,
they spotted him in a little canyon. I helped bring him back
thumbnails.
up,
I
but
made this.
he was in bad shape, and I think we all knew
it's right
he
here.
wasn't gonna make it. He'd fallen and
painted
broken his
this.
spine and couldn't feel his lower half.
The red
He'd
JD
also
Vance meme.
broken
I put
both
a
his
nice little
legs, one at the femur,
layer over
and
it.
he'd
Oh, wait.
lost a lot of blood.
I don't know if this is the OG.
He was confused and scared while he was alone, so he'd probably
this is the OG.
exacerbated the injuries by dragging himself and moving around.
I think I like saturated it
sounds
and
awful,
edited
but
it and stuff.
While I was riding in the copter with him, I asked him why he
What did I walk
wandered
into?
off. I
This
just
is
wanted
my
something to tell
JD
his
Vance
mother,
painting.
to let her know it wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
Because he was fading fast, and I didn't think she'd get to ask him herself. He was crying, and he said something about how the little sad boy had wanted him to come play. He said the little boy wanted to trade
Anyways.
so he could go home. Then
Continuing
he closed his
on,
eyes,
I
and
also
when he woke
drew,
up again,
like,
he was in the canyon.
or painted,
I'm not
really,
sure that's exactly
the,
what he said, but it was what I thought the gist
the
of it
guy.
was.
I don't know if you could show
He
that
just
on
kept
Twitch.
crying, asking where his mommy was, and
What's,
I held his hand and
the
tried my best
whatever
to keep
shooter,
him
the
calm.
United Healthcare
It
guy.
was cold out
Yeah,
there.
the United Healthcare
He
shooter
kept
guy.
saying
Before
that.
this was before we
It
knew what he
was
looked
cold
like,
out there.
and I don't
My
even know
legs were frozen.
if I
It
think
was
it's
cold out
Luigi
there. It's
Mangione.
cold in
So
me. He was
I wouldn't
getting
say
even
that's the
weaker,
guy,
so he
but
eventually stopped talking and he
yeah,
closed his eyes
Luigi,
for
and
a while.
had some
Then,
Monopoly
when we
money
were
in
about
there
5
and some
minutes from the
freaking
hospital, he looked right
some
at me
Mr.
with
Pokemon.
these big tears
And they have Glocks.
running down his
Actual
face, and
Glocks.
he said, "Mama won't
Mario's
see
brother.
me no more.
Yes.
Love Mama.
I
Wish she
painted
was
that.
here." And he closed
Oh.
his eyes and he just
There's a little thing I was working on down here.
never woke up. It was horrible, and
I don't remember what
don't
this
like
is, but I
talking about
apparently
it.
did not
That
like
case
it.
was one of the first ones that really rattled me badly. Because of how
Alright.
badly it affected me, I reached out to a senior ranger who ended up
Back to
helping
the
me through
thingy.
it. As time went on and we got to know
We
each other
are
better, he ended up sharing
what you
one of
walked
his own
into
stories with me.
is
It was
we're drawing
disturbing,
a
but it helped to know that I
mosquito
wasn't the
getting his
only one affected
big
by
juicy
things
ass
going on up
slapped.
there. He started his story. I think
And this is my
must have
first time
happened before you
animating,
got
so-
here,
oh,
because
shit.
I think if it had happened while you were here, you'd have remembered it. I know it didn't end up on the news for some reason.
This is what we
but
got so
I
far.
think most people who've been here long enough know about it. The park sold off a portion of land to a
Yeah!
mining company, and it was a really controversial thing. But it wasn't that large
I love
or
how with
old
each
of a plot, and it was right after the
layer
recession,
it
so
gets
we needed
more and
cash
more put
bad.
together like it's actually
Anyway,
happening.
they were selling this
I've
plot of
animated,
land, and we get a call that we need to get our supervisors out
pixel
right
art
away.
before, like
I don't know why,
a
but
sprite,
they ended
but
up sending
never
me
drawing,
and a few other
so
guys
it's
along with
a
the
lot
heads,
harder.
I guess, for power in numbers to see what was up. We got there, and all these guys
It looks
are
more like an
crowded
ant
around
than
a
mosquito,
tree that they've
but
just cut down.
it'll
They're
probably
all
look better
pissed
once we
off
actually
and
get
freaking
going.
out, and the foreman comes over and says he wants to know what we think we're up to.
We're also
What the hell
listening
y'all
to
think this is?
Staircase
Some
in the
kinda
Woods.
sick joke? You've got a
Kinda
lot of
tuned
fucking
it out.
nerve pulling this shit. We bought this land fair and square. Well, we don't know what the hell he's talking about, so he brings us over to this
Alright.
fallen tree and points at it.
Back
He
to
tells
what we
us
were
that they
doing.
cut
I
it
think I only
down,
got
and
like
it was
2
just
frames.
like this, and they'll
God,
be
1 frame
damned if
done.
they
This
put
takes
it
a long
there.
time.
The inside of the tree
also,
was all
like,
rotted and hollow in one spot, and when
I
they
don't know
cut
what
it
I'm- what I'm
down,
doing.
it had
Oh.
exposed that chamber, and inside of it was
Oh
a
yeah, I was on the
hand,
wrong layer.
like a perfectly severed hand, and looks like it's actually fused with the inside of the tree. Well,
Do you
now
ever
we think
draw
they're
and you're
pulling a
on the
joke,
wrong
so we tell
layer,
them that we don't like
and
being fucked with, and we start to leave. But they tell us that
Thick
they've
ass-
already called the cops,
thick ass
and they'll
thighs.
go right to the media if we don't stick around. Well, that of course gets the head's attention, so they stick around and talk to the police
Oh,
about it.
let's
Everyone
see.
is denying that they put the hand in there.
Maybe
and
jiggle a
besides,
little
how
bit
would
to the
anyone
right.
have ever done it? It's
It
clearly
went
a real hand,
kind of-
but
they're
it's
kinda
not mummified or
turning
skeletal.
backwards.
It's brand
He's, like,
new,
turning.
probably not even a day
He got
old,
smacked.
and it is definitely
And he's
fused
moaning.
with
He's
the
gonna go,
wood.
"Oh!"
You can see that it's coming right out of it.
And he's
The
gonna kind of
loggers
turn his
insist
head
that they
and like
didn't
bring his
put it
hand up a
there.
little bit,
Somehow,
and like arches
this
back a
fresh
little
human
bit,
hand
and
ended
his
up
ass is
fused to the
shaking. It
inside
goes
of
up
this living
to the
tree.
left where it is
The
right
cops have
now,
them
and
cut
it's
up
gonna
that
go back to
section
the
of
right
tree
and
into a
probably left and
movable
right
chunk. Then
again
they take the hand away,
as
and
he,
the
like,
area
turns
is closed
around
off.
to,
There
like,
was a
go
pretty big investigation.
look at
but
the
I know we
hand
didn't get any
smacking his
answers.
ass. And
Now
I think
it's become this legend.
I think that's what I'm
and
gonna
as
do.
far as
He's
I know,
gonna
we haven't sold any
get it
more
smacked.
property for
I might
logging.
add some more frames at the
As you all
beginning
know, I
of
went
like the
to a
hand
training
coming
seminar
down, but that
recently,
seems like a
and
lot
I
of
heard
work.
some amazing and
Right now, it's just
horrible
gonna be him
things
getting
there.
his ass smacked
One
and
of
the hand
guys I
coming
talked
up,
to
and
while I
like
was there told
maybe
me
a
a story when we were all
view
around the
change, like a
campfire
scene
one
change
night.
of
We
like
were
the
both
hand
pretty
POV
drunk.
sort of.
You'll
like
see
a top-down
pattern here,
POV
and
of
we
him
were
going,
swapping
"Oh!"
stories. He told me this one.
That's
Me
what I
and
got
another
planned.
guy were out on a field search because some campers reported screaming
Okay.
noises at night. So we head out there to look for whatever fucking mountain lion has wandered into the area, and I'm pissed.
It's gonna
We've
start
had 3
kinda
of
going
them
back
show
down
up in
now,
the
I
camping
think.
areas that year alone, and I'm getting tired as hell of constantly having to deal with them. Plus, I just don't like them anyway. They're a pain in the ass, and they're loud, and they scare the shit out of me. Fucking cats. Pieces of shit.
I love
I'm
cats. Why
groaning
don't you
about
fuck
it to
off?
the guy I'm with, and he thinks it's a real fucking riot. So we're seeing all these broken branches and what looks like dens, and we're pretty sure we know where this thing is. I call in, and they tell me to confirm if possible, which, you know, just means they want you to step in a big pile of shit and use that as proof. I'm not seeing any though, so I basically just tell them to shove it. I'm done. We know that damn thing's out there somewhere, even if I'm not stepping in its shit or inside its mouth or whatever. Guy I'm with wanders off to take a piss or whatever, and I stay behind watching this little burrow under a tree to see if maybe a fox or something is living under it. Cause I love foxes, man. They're cute as hell. But anyway, I'm watching this
Girl,
tree and I
I'm
start
trying to get the
hearing
right angle
branches
on this.
crackling, and it's coming from the direction.
Love
I'm
cats, huh?
going
Name
opposite
everyone.
of. Now, I've got my pistol, but you and I both know that's not going to do shit against a
Gray.
cat. I cock it and holler for my partner to
Orange.
get his dumbass back here, but he's too far and he can't hear me. I stand up and get my sights on where this thing is approaching,
White
and I shit you
kitties?
not, man. I just
Calico
about
kitties?
pissed myself. This guy
Turtle
is
shell
coming towards me,
kitties?
and he's backflipping
Siamese
through
kitties?
the fucking woods. Like, instead of
Gray
walking, he's
again?
doing these crazy fucking
Prussian
backflips,
blue?
and I swear to God, he cleared
Prussian?
every fucking
Russian?
log and
Is it
bush in
Prussia?
his path.
Maybe I'm getting
It was
oil
like
paint
he
mixed
knew
up
right
with
where he
cat
was going.
colors.
I yell at the guy to stop where
Blue.
he is,
The
and
cat's
that I'm
blue,
pointing a
but he's
gun at
gray,
him,
but he's
He
blue.
keeps coming, and I just kind of lost
That
it.
flower's
I shot at the
violet, but
ground
it's
in
really
front of him, and It was a
blue.
dumb fucking thing to do, but man, I didn't want this guy anywhere near me. When I fired, he was about 50 yards from me, and as soon as the gun goes off, he whirls around and goes off backflipping into the
try this
fucking
again.
woods again.
This
My
head's
partner
pissing
hears
me
my
off.
gun go off and runs
It's
back
pissing
and
me
asks
off.
what's up. And I tell him there's some fucking weirdo out
Yeah,
here hopped
Sphinx
up on
cats.
God knows what. And we need to get
Yeah,
the
there's
hell out
raisin
of
Sphinx
Dodge.
cats.
I
Sphinx
let the
cats?
cops know what
Yes.
happened, and I didn't get in any trouble for firing, but man, I
Ugh,
don't know
my
what that
goodness,
motherfucker was
girl.
on, but
Can
I've
we
never
get,
seen
like,
anything
a little
like
bit
that
of a
before. Shit was absolutely butt-fuck crazy.
stabilization?
I think we can agree that there's stuff going on out here in the woods, and
little
while
bit
I'm not going to spout off about what it could be or offer any theories, what I want
works.
people to take away from all of this
Bing
is that
bong,
it's so
who is
damn
it?
important to be
Jonas
safe when you're
McGee?
out there. I know a
Welcome,
lot of you
Jonas
think
McGee.
you're invincible, but the fact
Sorry,
is,
we
you
have a
can die out there,
mosquito
or
with a
be
big fat
hurt,
ass
or go missing.
on the screen.
It's easier than you'd ever imagine.
We are
I
listening to
apologize for this relative.
horrifying search and rescue stories. I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. That scary Reddit story, and we are listening to Corpse Husband narrate it for us. So yeah, I'm kind of talking over it. There's that freaking smell again. The heater smell. I don't know if you can see. My cat's cleaning his ass. There's a lot going on. I hate heater smell. Fuck, heater, I hardly know her.
Relatively short update, guys. I'll do my absolute best to continue as soon as possible.
This fucking guy. This fucking guy.
One of the topics that I get asked about a lot here
Alright,
and
anyways.
in real life involve things like
I'm trying to get
the
the
rake,
head right.
the Wendigo,
The rake!
and
Oh,
other legends.
the rake!
I can't honestly say that I know a lot about any
I
of
need
them,
him
but based on some light reading I did, I can say that I've heard
To
stories that seem
kind
to
of
be
be
loosely
turning
related
his
to them.
head.
You've heard the old adage that legends like that come from somewhere, and I'm sure that's true, but as you all know, I do try to take things with a grain of
There we
salt.
go.
After all, you have to out here. It's sort of like working in a hospital, I'd imagine. You could spend
kind
all
of
day
turned a
thinking
little bit
about how
more
many people have
towards-
died there, and how there are probably ghosts or whatever you want to call them
If
all
your
over
head
the place.
is like
But it
this,
doesn't do you any good. It
and
just
there's
makes
more
it harder to do your
space.
job. I think a lot of us feel that way, and that's why we
On
try to
this
go about our work
side.
like everything is fine. Once you get paranoid, there's not really any going back, and a lot of cadets quit because of it. My park especially seems to have a high turnover rate because the cadets graduate and get so freaked out about everything and they can't seem to let it go. You have to learn to internalize things and shut off. I've talked to KD a bit about her experience.
God,
because
getting
I wanted
angles
to know
right
what
with
she
the
thought
face is
about
so
the
hard.
Wendigo. She didn't really have anything in particular to say about it, aside from that she didn't want to think about it that much.
You gotta make one,
But she told
like
me a
one
friend
thing
of
slightly
hers had
longer and
something
one thing
similar
slightly
happen.
like shorter.
I
His
contacted
voice
this
sounds better.
person,
Yeah.
H, over
So he's
Skype.
Doing
and they
spooky
agreed to
dooky
talk
stories
to me a
now.
bit.
The
They're aware
corpse
of my
husband.
work
I think
here,
he
and
always
they're
like
fine
he
with me
started off
posting
with
the
that,
story.
and then he like got really famous because of his sultry voice, and then started doing music and stuff. But yeah, I miss Corpse. I think his voice is pretty sick.
Exactly as they wrote it. So
Let's
here
see.
goes. I grew up in Central Oregon, and there's a reservation called Warm Springs about
his
2 or
nose
so
is gonna
hours
go
from
like-
where I lived. I only mention that because a lot of people in my area have friends there, and a lot of the
Like
land
that.
in that area belongs to that tribe. When I was a kid, we used to go camping up there. Not on the res, of course, but in that area, and I met a lot of kids who grew up there. I got to know one kid really well. His name was Nolan, and we ended up hanging out a lot when our families were in the area. Our folks got to know each other, so we'd all get in touch and camp out around the same time. We'd camp for about 2 weeks, so we were out there for a long time. I then asked him if he camped in an RV. Yeah, my
Make
dad
his nose
had
a little
one.
bit
So I guess
fatter.
it wasn't really camping, but we'd take our tents and stuff and set them up out away from the camp most nights. I didn't like sleeping in there because I like being outside. We then talked on Skype a bit about camping. So anyway, sorry. One year, Nolan and I were out there. I think we
I
must
don't
have
really
been
want
like
kind
12
of the
or so.
same
we wanted to go
Like
out and camp
this.
near the river because we wanted to
You know
try
that
night
one
fishing.
SpongeBob?
I think we must have been about a third of a mile from the main camp.
I can't really
Far
describe it.
enough
It's like
away
that
we
one
couldn't
SpongeBob
hear
face. I
or
think it's
see
Mr.
anyone
Krabs
else.
usually.
I remember that
Or
specifically.
SpongeBob
we
himself.
were messing around most of the day.
Where they show
I
kind of
don't
like a
really
side
remember much of it, but
view,
we ended up building a fire at
and
some
the lips
point,
are kinda
and I was
like-
really impressed
I can't
because he had
describe
this
it.
flint or something that he used to
I got
start it.
on a scuba
I'd
diving
never seen
cave vid
anyone
binge.
do that before,
Ooh,
so
I
thought
actually
it
have
was
never
pretty cool. I got him
cave
to teach
scuba
me how to do
diving?
it, and we lit
I
some
guess,
stuff
yeah,
on
that makes
fire,
sense.
Which, looking back,
Welcome,
was
OPR
really
Night
stupid
Dragon?
because it was the
Welcome.
middle of fucking
That sounds like a
summer,
cool name.
and if I remember right,
We are
the fire
drawing a
warning was
mosquito with a
either at
fat
yellow
ass. Let me
or
zoom out.
orange. But thankfully, we didn't start anything major.
And
when it
we're also
got
listening
dark,
to
we sat around
creepypastas.
and talked about whatever
Dude,
it
that is such a good
12-year-olds
idea.
talk
The
about.
scuba
I
diving,
don't really
like
remember.
spelunking
What I do
in a cave
remember
vid.
is that at
I
some point,
have
he
seen
looked
like
over
some
my
of those
shoulder at the
videos of
river
them
and asked me if I
in the
could see
caves with water,
something.
and they kind of have to
The
swim
way
a
our
little bit,
camp was
but
set up,
that
we
is
were about 10 feet
terrifying.
from the river, and we were at the
Terrifying!
highest point,
Why
so
would
it
you
was
do that
probably
on
about
purpose?
20 feet to the other bank. It gets hot up
Why
there
would
in the
sometimes
summer,
you have to
but
pay
the
money to
water
do
is
that?
still
You have to
cold, which
train
is
basically your whole life,
I look over my
probably
shoulder,
a lot of
and
your
I can
life
see
to do that,
something wading
and they
into the
always
river
die.
on the
Always,
other
they
side.
literally, yeah, that's what I'm
From
saying.
where
Yeah.
we were, it
What
looked like
the
a
fuck?
deer,
Why
but
would
we
you do
couldn't
that?
really
What
tell
kind
because
of, like,
the fire. I got up to look closer.
what
and
is
I
it?
saw a pair of
Adrenaline
antlers,
rush.
so I figured it was
Do
a
you
buck.
have that
But
makes
I
you
thought it was
want to
weird
do
that it
that?
was wading into the water, and
They
it
give me
was
claustrophobia.
definitely heading for
Freaking
us.
sane,
I
dude.
asked Nolan what he thought we should
Oh my
do.
god. Ugh.
He's looking at the fire
Ugh.
with this weird expression, and he tells
You know what? You're absolutely right. We're gonna pull up a couple of those. Because the Stairs in the Woods, they're really popular. Like, it's a really popular Reddit creepypasta. So we could watch that on your own time. Get out of here. Okay. What are we looking for? Oh yeah. Cave scuba deaths. Let's not. I mean, maybe. I mean, it's the same thing. Get something good. I don't know Mr. Ballin. I don't trust him. I don't trust a white man like that. Scary? Yes. Is Vanox a good source? Short documentary? Nah.
In this video, we
I want a
combine
compilation.
some of
Okay.
the most terrifying cave diving disasters we've covered on this channel. If you enjoy these stories, make sure to leave a subscription for more.
The cat just
exciting
opened the door and
cave
smacked the
diving
other cat.
documentaries like these.
That's funny. I just did.
In
the
2004,
screen.
Elios Medina and his group
Can't
of
do
9
that.
other cave divers arrived
Elios Medina. Remember that. Remember that, Chad. It's gonna be important later. Hello? Okay, that's what I was doing. Oh yeah, I couldn't do that because full screen. Sorry, you're just gonna have to listen to it. No, we need to watch it. We need to watch it. I'll put my chat here, and then I'll put YouTube right here, and then I will play it.
at an
Okay.
enormous sinkhole.
I also just
in
saw
Mexico.
Alex Hammond free
They
solo.
planned
Ooh,
to
who's that?
dive
I don't know who that
hundreds
is,
of feet
but
down, but they
made me
immediately
sweat.
ran into
Ooh.
trouble. There were no safe
free solo
anchors for
as
their
in
ropes.
like in the cave swimming and like spelunking without equipment, or like this, like solo rock climbing. Either way, screw that.
Then,
Screw rock
one
climbing too.
caver,
Okay, I'm
trouble.
gonna start it over.
There were no
This is most gruesome cave diving accidents. So I think people will die here. Rip. Oh, hello. God, I can't see my OBS with this video up. Or can I? Play?
safe anchors for their ropes.
OBS?
Then, one caver
You can still see it.
accidentally
Yeah,
anchored the rope
yeah.
like
We've
a
got
Medina
Oh,
risked
what
his
would you
life
call
to
that?
save his fellow caver who was
ADHD
dangling hundreds of
freaking
feet above the cave's floor. Did they make it out alive?
doubles. We got picture in
Creatures
picture.
inside the cave claimed
All my blood
their
is rushing to
loss.
my
Find out as we
shoulder,
explore the
and I can't
story
feel my
of the
hand.
Pozo de
Ooh.
Gavilan Cave Rescue.
Oh,
Mexico's
they climb a
landscape
mountain
is
with no gear.
riddled
They made a
with
movie about it.
sinkholes.
Ooh, El
These
Capitan.
deep caves have
Ooh.
shaped Mexico's history. The Yucatan
Alex
Peninsula is the
Hammond. I
most
need to write
famous
that
center
down.
for Mexican
That might be
sinkholes.
a cool
The
thing
potholes
to
of the
watch.
Yucatan Peninsula are called cenotes.
Alex.
Though sometimes this term is used for all
sandwich.
Mexican vertical
Alex,
caves.
ham.
Over time, these cenotes, or
Mond.
sinkholes, fill with water.
Ham
Some
almond.
of these holes connected to vast underground
Holes.
cave networks and subterranean
See my
lakes.
kitty?
Ancient Mayan
car?
civilizations used the cenotes for fresh
My car?
supplies of water, and they were also used
My
for
car?
human sacrifices.
What are you doing?
Although the Yucatan Peninsula has Mexico's most famous
He's rubbing
potholes,
on the
many
skeleton.
other sinkholes are found across the country, including Pozo de Gavilan, which is found in Mexico's
what are you doing?
northeastern state of Nuevo
What are you
Leon.
doing?
Nuevo
What are you doing?
Leon is home to
What
rocky
are you doing?
terrain that's perfect for caves.
What are you doing?
With over
Casting confusion.
1,500
What are you doing?
mountains in the region, you can
What are
find
you
caves in
doing?
every
What are you
direction.
doing?
Otherwise
What are you
known
doing?
as Eagle's Hole, Pozo de
She's been
Gavilan
thoroughly
is
confused.
a gorgeous attraction that
Okay.
brings nature lovers, climbers,
Can link a
and
YouTube video with the climbing
sightseers
videos from the movie.
far and wide to
Ooh,
gaze
yeah.
at its
We could watch that
enormous
after
size.
this.
One day, back in
This is an hour.
2004,
Yeah, this should be
a
fun.
group of 10
We could probably watch it
cavers
after
arrived
this.
at the mouth of the cave. The group chose Pozo de
I need to
Gavilan
go
because
back
it was
to
both beautiful
OBS.
and mysterious. Helios, Medina,
Hello!
and 4 other members of the team were trained cave divers. They came to Pozo de Gavilan to explore the submerged cave beneath the lake at the bottom of the sea.
Anywho, back to the
Once submerged
fucking
by the
fat
sea
ass
waters,
mosquito.
They hope to find a connection between this cave and the nearby Labrador Lagoon,
Yes.
or Laguna de Labradores, which is about 1.5 miles
Yes.
away. The other half of the team were less
Copy?
experienced.
Copy?
They came
Copy?
to practice
Copy?
vertical climbing
Okay.
for future trips. And some may have been interested in the
Have you guys been
rumors
listening to
surrounding
this
Pozo
at all?
de Gavilan.
Because
The
I...
scientists
Ooh, they're also climbing El Capitan. I was not. We're gonna actually lock in. I apologize. This is like the 3rd time I've
in
done
this
that.
video, we
I do that all
combine
the time.
Some of the most
Woo!
terrifying cave diving disasters we've covered on this channel. If you
Terrifying
enjoy these
cave diving.
stories,
Are you
make sure to
listening?
subscribe
Are you
for more
listening? Are you
exciting
listening?
cave diving documentaries like these.
She's listening. That cat's name is Concrete.
In 2004, Helios Medina and his group of 9
That's
other
all I'm gonna
cave
say about it.
divers arrived at an enormous sinkhole in Mexico.
Mexico.
They planned to dive hundreds of feet down, but they immediately ran into trouble. There were no safe anchors for their ropes. Then, one caver accidentally angered the wildlife living in the sinkhole. Medina risked his life to save his fellow cavers who were dangling hundreds of feet above the cave's floor. Did they make it out alive? Or did the creatures inside the cave claim their lives? Find out as we explore the story of the Pozo de Gavilan cave rescue.
Oh.
Mexico's landscape
Oh
is
no, that's just my
riddled
chat.
with
I thought I
sinkholes.
was covering
These
shit.
deep caves have shaped Mexico's history.
How do we want to do the
Yucatan
lips? Do
Peninsula
I
is the
want to
most
give him...
famous center for Mexican sinkholes.
I kind of want to have him go...
Peninsula are called
Oh!
cenotes, though
How do you do that?
sometimes
That's
this
kind of
term is
like-
used for all Mexican vertical caves. Over time, these cenotes, or sinkholes, fill with water. Some of these holes
Why do you say
connect to
water?
vast underground
Water.
cave networks and subterranean lakes.
Ugh.
Ancient Mayan civilizations
That
used
kinda
the
looks like
cenotes for
teeth.
fresh supplies of water, and they were also
Water.
used for human sacrifices.
Uh.
Although the Yucatan Peninsula has Mexico's most famous potholes, many other sinkholes are found across the country.
That's close. That's close to what we
including
want.
Pozo de Gavilan, which is found in Mexico's northeastern state of Nuevo Leon. Nuevo Leon.
Nuevo
is
Leon.
rocky terrain
Not
that's
Nuevo
perfect for
Leon.
cave
What the
diving.
fuck? Whatever you
With
just
over
said.
1,500 mountains in the region, you can find
Nuevo
caves in every
my
direction.
nuts.
Otherwise known
dude.
as Eagle's Hole, Pozo de Gavilan is a gorgeous attraction that brings nature lovers, climbers, and sightseers from far and wide to gaze at its enormous entrance. One day, back in
Gaze at my enormous
2004,
entrance.
a group
Hey,
of 10
yo.
cavers arrived at the mouth of the cave. The group chose Pozo de Gavilan because it was both beautiful and mysterious. Helios Medinas and 4 other
Mysterious.
members of the team were trained cave divers.
Oh, yeah.
They came
It's
to Pozo de
not
Gavilan to
in the
explore
right
submerged
spot.
cave beneath the lake at the bottom of the sinkhole. Once
kinda-
submerged by
I
the
want-
cool waters, they hope to find a connection between this cave and the nearby Labrador Lagoon, or Laguna de Labradores, which is
Oh,
about
yeah.
1.5 miles
It's a
away.
little bit better.
The other half of the team were less experienced. They came to practice vertical climbing for future trips.
He's going.
And
He's going.
some
Ah!
may have been interested in the rumors surrounding
Ah, I
Pozo
can't
de
even do it.
Gavilan. The scientists
Like when you go-
weren't impressed by the legends of shape-changing.
That's not the
horsemen.
face.
They
I don't
left
know.
the others alone anyway. Instead of
Ah!
superstition,
Ah!
these days
Oh,
should
dude.
be
Oh!
aware of traveling to the sinkhole.
Ah!
Vicious cartels and other gangsters take refuge.
Why does
in
this feel
caves
so
to hide their
large?
illegal activities,
I need to fix
while
my
others
pressure.
wait to ambush unsuspecting tourists along the dusty roads. If any bandits stumbled upon their cars, they would be easy targets to mug. Or, if they were truly evil, cartels could simply put their cars into reverse or neutral and send the climbers crashing into the lake below, staining the pure waters with
Anyway.
blood and rust. Now, thankfully, the team arrived early.
I was
in the
just
day
drawing
with the
that,
facility
chat.
upgraded.
I was just
Pozo de Gavilan
I was
Service
just
Center is
drawing
200 feet
that.
wide. If it weren't for the pristine crystal blue waters below, it would look man-made. The subterranean lake of the
Apple.
rests 300 feet below the surface, or nearly the length of a
Apple.
football field straight down. For much of the day, the lake is shrouded by shadow, and no wind
Apple.
enters these cold depths, allowing unique
Can you
species
say
to
apple?
thrive in the waters below. The cavers absorb the beautiful view
Apple.
from the lake and look for a strong rock or tree to
Okay.
anchor their ropes around, but
Meh.
only dry
Continue what I
dust
was
mist
doing.
around their ankles. The team decided to improvise.
Need his little
They drove their
antennae,
car close to the
and they're
ledge,
gonna be
and
like
then backed up
straight.
until pebbles
Oh,
kicked
shit.
back from their rear tires and tumbled into the waters below. They attached 2 ropes to one of their cars and rappelled off the
It's
side of the
not
cliff.
at all.
A short distance down, they rigged another secondary anchor to support them in case something went wrong. The divers attached their scuba equipment below their
Dave,
harness
the
so that they
diver?
could easily disconnect the heavy equipment in an emergency. The second warning sign happened while they were still rigging the ropes for their mission. Medina was leading the
Hello?
charge. As he climbed down, he began to realize he was dropping faster than he intended. The rope was also
I'm
gaining
gonna
slack,
fucking
which
kill
meant he could go
you
into free fall at
in
any
game,
second. The
in
sudden
Minecraft.
pull of his weight could dislodge the anchors and
Minecraft.
possibly even send the
Gonna
car over the
BM.
ledge. He acted fast and
You
backed away from the
iPad.
slide. The friction
I'm
slowed
going
his
to
fall
do it.
until he stopped, but the rope tore his flesh from
There
his
we
thigh,
go.
a massive rope burn. Now, despite the
Massive.
sting of exposed flesh, he continued his descent, and the rest of the divers followed. Once in the lake, the
I
team
don't feel
equipped
this
their
vid too
scuba gear
drunk to
and
pay
prepared explore
attention.
the cave. Once
I'm
they
not
were
really
ready
paying
to
attention
dive,
either.
they swam
I'm just
under a
gonna play your
hole in
video.
the side of the rock. This overhang
You are
bends
absolutely
down.
correct. Yes, let's copy. Paste. Paste. That's not. It just took me to the Twitch chat. Hello? Okay. Oh, it's only 4 minutes. That's okay. We'll go back. Make sure you can see it. You're gonna be so tiny. Whoa! 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 You climbing? Yeah! Ruby! Yeah. You see that, Chet? Whoa! Hollow flake. Okay, I'll stop moving it. If I put it behind me. Look at me! Right there. And I'll put this guy right here. Like so. You want some madness? I know, a comedy sketch that's insane. Is it Key and Peele? Is it TOS friendly? Shit. 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 Drawing straight lines is really difficult sometimes. Somebody call 911. Shorty's fire burning on a deck. What is that? Oh, that's his arm. Why does I looked up and I thought it was God, what's his name? Oh my god. Nathan Fielder. I thought it was Nathan Fielder. They say cock one, but otherwise it's a gold mine of a channel. Okay. Trusting you. Hold on, I gotta close YouTube just in case. Oh no, it opened it.
At least watch the first 2 first.
Oh, I've seen this. I love this channel. Dude, you totally made me have that gay dream. Yeah, and I was, yeah, going so hard, dude. I love this. Absolutely. Let's open it. Open this. Not Spotify, thank
Those are the best. The first two.
you. You made me have that dream.
What movies are there? Six.
Hey guys.
He said that after all night.
What's going on?
Yeah, man.
Easy.
Jesus Christ, man.
Fine. It was me.
Did what?
That's some deep stuff.
Don't play stupid. Who made me have that gay dream about Liam?
I mean, I don't know.
Oh my God. Was it you, Chet? Huh?
Was it you,
How'd
Chet?
you make it feel so real? Like my lips were actually airlocked around the base of his cock.
Please, Will, just.
I'm sure you
So
can
it was you,
say
Billy.
that on Twitch. It's
You
fine.
had Liam belly flop onto my nuts and crush him like a Capri Sun. Hilarious.
What are you, police?
Hilarious.
Scaring the shit out of me.
Was it prime suspect number 1? Liam Cullen. How'd you do it, Doctor Strange?
Christ.
How'd you do it, Doctor Strange?
Around me and pork me like the queen bee.
I don't fucking know what you're talking about, man.
Chat.
We're not even drawing the
You made me give Liam a hand job on the top
mosquito
of Splash Mountain?
anymore.
I don't know what Splash Mountain looks like. Billy, you make him take me to the Gap and try on all the little girls' clothes in front of him? How'd you know I used to do that?
Why would I do that?
Liam, you made me grind on you at a Pitbull concert for 3.5 hours till my nuts turned to sawdust.
What the fuck are you talking
Pitbull pulled us up on stage. We kissed in front
Sawdust?
of everyone. Why didn't either of us have pubes, Liam? We were both bald down there. How come whenever I go for a run, I start
'Cause you're at a
sweating
concert.
cum? You and me went stargazing. You taught me all the constellations. Next thing I know, my pants are around my ankles.
Will.
In all these dreams, you came every time. I never got my nut.
This is ridiculous.
He never got his nut.
Daydream.
I just want to get my nut.
We all have
Okay.
it. It's normal.
I'm just trying to get my nut.
This is all made up shit in your head, you know? You having 10 naked clones of me. I'm
It
wrapping
is a
around
spectrum.
like an anaconda,
Everybody's a little gay.
You know, filling up your cheeks with my cum like you're some sort of chipmunk. That's all in your head, man. That's all made up.
That's quite specific for being made up.
Yeah?
Except I never told you about that last part.
That's what I'm saying.
What?
The chipmunk cheeks.
Chipmunk cheeks.
I
Like-
was
like-
saying random stuff, man. You said a lot of different stuff. I was just making shit up because you were making stuff.
Chipmunk cheeks. I love having like a little whiteboard.
Hold on a second.
This is
I had a dream where Liam.
fuck.
filled
You know,
my
yeah.
cheeks.
Fuck this.
Now that I think about it, 2 nights ago, Liam filled my cheeks with his cum.
Guys,
Oh,
what
I
the-
didn't mean to do
what
that.
type of weird,
I've
disturbing
been having gay dreams about Liam forever now, you fucking bitch.
What the fuck are all of you talking about? I don't have any idea what this is. This is all just weird prank or some shit. I'm leaving. This is.
Hold on. This is me if I'm mute.
You all liked it. Yeah. I've been going in your dreams, having sex with you, making you have gay dreams about me, sure. But you loved it. All of you. Especially you.
No.
You loved it.
No. Back up. I swear to God, I'll shoot you.
You're not gonna shoot me.
You. The arrow's pointing at you.
Guys.
You. I can't do this because I'm not actually mute. I yap too much. And then it just turns into a music video. You watch any series? Yes, hold on, I'll tell you after. I like this part. They just do like a music video. Coordinated dance. I like how it's coordinated. Like, they just made a whole TikTok. Like, this is a whole production. The Revelation. Revelations 16:6. If one has a gay dream, then one is gay. Inside of you are 2 wolves. One is gay. The other is gay. You are gay. Anywho, This channel reminds me of Wizards with Guns, which is another funny bit channel. And do I watch any series? Yes, I was gonna say I watch a bunch of series, but one I've really liked lately is what the fuck? Okay. Is Severance. I really enjoy Severance. If you have Apple TV, it's really stupid. I hate Apple TV. I literally just get it for Severance, but if you have Apple TV or can get a free trial, Severance is really, really good. I love Mr. Milchick. He's my favorite. Let's play a little meme. One of the good ones. This one's really good.
Son!
Opening your eyes during prayer.
Sorry, Dad.
Spit it out.
Spit it out.
All right. Heads bowed, eyes closed. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this bountiful meal. Thank you for creating my gorgeous, shapely wife. Oh, protect every inch of her, God. Also,
I got into Warhammer after I saw fan animation. Now I'm cursed with useless knowledge. That's literally me with League of Legends. I got into League because of my friends, and yeah. My brain is full of BS that I don't need to know about farming and waves and jungling.
your righteousness. Also with
Oh my God! It's Jesus!
Please, oh Lord, forgive us
If you
of
open
our
your eyes
sins.
during prayer, Jesus will show
Forgive
up
me,
and
God,
fuck it up for
what
you.
I do every night and every morning. There's no need to say it out loud. That's just between you and
You turn the
me
water into wine.
Dad? And the rest of this table. Okay, here it goes.
Dad!
Son, I'm literally on the horn with the Lord, so please.
But Dad,
I'll go back. I don't need my whiteboard.
And those eyes better be closed, boy. I wouldn't dare open my own to check, but by God's green earth, those peepers better be shut tight. Dear Lord, I am so sorry. That is our son, and we love him, but frankly, he's a little dense. It's kind of our fault, God. We took him to the zoo one too many times when he was little. I regret the mistakes I've made, but I hope you can forgive me, God. Oh, forgive me, God, and heal me for my rabid excursions into the depths of self-pleasure, Lord.
Dad's a
Preserve me,
gooner.
God, grant me the hydration, the electrolytes, Lord.
Dad,
Great.
there's a guy.
Me too, dude.
I think it's Jesus.
Yes, son, Jesus is here. He's always with us.
Yeah, but he's right here. I mean, he's literally right there.
I know, son. I just said that. So please, shut up. Thank
Shut
you.
up!
And please, God, don't
Oh my
take
God,
me
I hate it
away
when my
from
hand
us.
like
Don't
slips
gently whisk him
'cause it
away to
grips
that
the
sweet year after,
iPad.
Lord. He gets a new body, new bones, new working penis, and everlasting life, Lord. Keep him here
New work and penis.
in freezing Minnesota.
They're in Minnesota?
Have to be sad. Oh Lord. Oh, Mr.
There's a guide of how to read one book event in order on Google. It's like D&D. Google how to read the Horus Heresy. Look at the first picture on Google. It's like a skill tree of books. Oh God. You know, I love that, but also when you make a game, you want there to be that level of lore eventually, depending on the game, most games. But like, holy shit, someone new just getting into it is like, you look at that and you go, yeah, no, I'm not gonna get into that. I almost did that with League because I was like, this is too much. I've never played any game like that before then, and I was like, this is a lot. Oh shit! Oh shit! They're trying to catch Jesus.
Almost got it.
him!
Go get him! Grab him!
Damn, he's running away barefoot.
Okay. Good work. Great job. Maybe next year we do
Great job.
plastic knives. Oh, God damn it, Peepaw. He's already gone. Oh, wait.
Peepaw's gone too.
He might have died. Oh, yeah.
It's the most nerdy guide you will ever see. Oh god. Let's see. Oh, Horus Heresy. Oh, Horus Heresy, yes. Yes, the Heresy of Horus. Yes. Might Google upon that. God, my freaking nails. Yeah. Oh. Goodness gracious. Oh god, I just closed the tab. Fuck! Let me open it for the class to view. It's not YouTube. Hello. There we go. Jesus. They're all 8 to 12 hour long books. Oh my goodness. And this is just for Warhammer lore? Why? Why would one put themselves through that? Why? Okay. Let's go back to the cave diving, gruesome cave diving accidents, because it's nice and long. I get distracted really easily if you can't tell, so I need something nice and congruent. Right here for you. Okay, and we'll go back to that.
Into another vertical section.
I have gotten, I think, one frame done of this. I need to
need
to log in! Oh god.
Team only went another 120 feet
this is my first time animating, like I've said before, and it is
path that went deeper
hard.
into the cold, dark waters below ground. They were physically
a little bit harder than I
from rigging the ropes and traveling
would
all
have
the way to
thought.
the sinkhole. Medina's team had confirmed the cave was below the sinkhole, which was a good start. Since this connection mission could be a massive exploration, they decided to save this section for later. The team took off their scuba gear once again, and one by one, they started climbing up the sinkhole to exit the cave. They decided to have some of the most experienced cavers climb up first, while the other experienced cavers would climb up last. That way, if anyone ran into trouble, the experts could assist from either end of the climb. As the best caver there, Medina volunteered to be the last person out of Pozo de Gavilan. 5 hours after they started their adventure, 2 of the experts made it out of the cave. 4 cavers, including Medina, were waiting down below, while 4 more newbie cavers were climbing up the walls of the sinkhole in tandem. That's when all hell broke loose. Halfway up the wall, one of the cavers looked down to position her feet.
All hell broke
Then,
loose when you
she glanced
decided
up
to
the sheer
cave.
rock and reached her hand out to grab a solid hand. In her haste, the amateur didn't realize what she was actually grabbing. Her hand depressed the surface of the hold, releasing a strange, crunching sound. Her body slipped forward after she put weight onto her hand as the object broke open. She had accidentally broken a beehive. Immediately, a
freaking
swarm
beehive
of insects
in
engulfed the caver.
the
But these
cave?
were no
Why are there
ordinary
bees in the
bees.
cave? Why are there
They
bees in the
were
cave? Why are there
invasive
bees in the
species of
cave?
Africanized killer bees.
Who put killer bees in the cave? Who put killer bees in the cave?
Bred the killer bee to increase honey production. Some of the swarms broke out of the hives and spread all across
Humans.
South America. Killer bees often make nests in holes in the ground.
Classic.
Like the small divots along the walls of Pozo de Gavilan. These creatures are much more aggressive than normal European bees. They can chase other animals for a quarter mile, and they sting
gracious.
10 times more
They're the pit
than
bulls of
regular
bees.
They've also killed large animals like horses, and over 1,000
I can't get the
humans
angle
since
on
they
this.
first broke out into the wild. The first caver immediately sat back in her saddle, swatting at the
Okay.
buzzing swarm.
I get it.
The
First
bees
thing,
quickly spread
turning it
out and
around.
attacked all 4 cavers who were climbing near one another. 3 women and 1 man screamed in terror and pain as the bees tore into their flesh. Medina looked up the side of the cave and saw all the cavers flailing. A new rope came down overhead. It went taut as 2 of the experienced cavers who made it to the ledge reattached their harnesses and leaned off the side to assist their friends and colleagues. The pair had affixed a 3rd rope to climb down separately. This would give the other cavers a better chance, and, if need be, they could distract the swarm while their friends could climb up their own ropes. The moment the 2 cavers got in range, the swarm flew up to attack them as well. Since caving was in their blood, they could perform climbing maneuvers without thinking about what to
Yeah,
do
they're
as they
bees.
swatted at
I'm
the
kidding.
yellow menace. By this point, the 4 cavers in the epicenter of the swarm
They knew what to
weren't
do.
able to
They're
climb. They were
the
struggling
bees
to
were
fight
experienced
back as their
cavers.
bodies began to swell from toxins. One of the 2 experts reached the woman who was highest up the rope from the incident. She was in bad shape. The caver hooked a new attachment to her harness and connected it to his rope. He knew what he needed to do, but he knew it would be risky. He took out his knife and started sawing through the connections that kept her stuck on her current rope. She would be attached to his line from only 1 carabiner clip. He had to make sure her weight gradually added tension to the rope. Otherwise, the sudden shift could cause them both to plummet. Once her slings were removed, he dragged her up the rocky mouth of the cave and onto the ledge above. This caver then immediately climbed back down. He cut the ascender connections of another trapped caver and made the grueling trip back up the cliffside, all while being repeatedly hammered by the deadly bees. Once he got up the cliff with the second rescued caver,
I wonder if
he
those
felt
bees
better.
are like.
The sting from Africanized
Okay.
bees contains the same amount of
I was gonna
venom as a
ask that.
regular honeybee, but the volume of stings is far greater.
Oh yeah, that would make you like
Victims get
pass out,
more
wouldn't it?
venom than normal attacks, and their rate of symptom onset approaches much faster. Bee stings will cause instant pain, followed by redness and swelling that increases for up to 2 days. But during extreme attacks like these, the victim's throats and tongues can swell. The venom can restrict breathing and cause nausea. If the stings don't stop, the venom will cause increased heart rate with changes to blood pressure, which ultimately causes the victims to pass out. After these inflammatory stings, the body releases cytokines to control the immune response. In very rare cases, this inflammation can lead to lifelong chronic inflammatory diseases like polyradicular neuropathy, and it can even disrupt blood flow to the brain, leading to a cerebral infarction and necrotic dead brain tissue.
Oh my goodness.
The brave caver who had rescued 2 of his friends started vomiting uncontrollably from the venom surging through his veins. Once his convulsions slowed, he jammed his stiff hand into his pocket and flipped open his old clamshell phone to call for an emergency rescue. The cavers realized that if they stopped moving, the bees would halt their assault. In these brief moments of safety, they were able to shout down to Medina to explain what was happening. Medina struggled into his wetsuit while the first 2 cavers were being rescued. The wetsuit is a neoprene layer that keeps scuba divers warm in the cold depths. These suits also form a protective layer from scrapes, but they're very rigid and tight. It can be a struggle to get them on, so usually divers will get help from a friend who can hoist the material up and over their shoulders as they wriggle into the material. Medina thought that the suit could protect him from some of the stings. But since Mexico is usually warm, they would have opted for lighter wetsuits that could only provide as little as half a millimeter of protection. If they had brought cold weather gear, Medina would have effectively had full protection against the stings. Medina realized this problem and hesitated. He told the cavers to change their gear into rappel mode and lower themselves back into the water. That way, they'd be further from the swarm and they could float to conserve energy. At this point, the one caver was over halfway up the sinkhole, while the other was only 80 feet from the bottom. The stuck cavers tried to follow his instructions, but as soon as they tried to move, the bees sprang back into action and needled them
The
with their
bees,
stingers.
no, the
Medina
bees.
stole his nerves and began the climb to aid his friends. He and another caver approached the lowest altitude victim. This time, they could work together instead of a single rescuer doing all the work. The other caver cut the victim's ropes, while Medina connected a lanyard to his harness. Medina positioned himself above the caver so that the victim was hanging from Medina's harness while Medina was attached to the rope. Medina rappelled down to the waterline, with the third caver finally free from the onslaught of bees. Just as he was about to abseil up the pothole, The last trapped caver began to jerk. Her whole body started to rise in short bursts. Up above the other cavers started the car that acted as the anchor for their ropes. Now at first it seemed like it was working. The final caver had rose from her position, but the anchors in the rock quickly became problematic. The angle from the car to her had put too much tension on the rope, and the stone of the cave's entrance was cutting the rope with each press of the car's accelerator. They put the car in park again. The final trapped caver was crying in pain. Fear gripped her as she swayed helplessly above the waters of the cave. She wanted to just climb up, but Medina warned her not to. Even though she had gone a bit further up the cliff, the team's plan to use the car had exerted extreme tension on the rope and its anchors. Any wrong move could cause the whole system to collapse, sending her straight to her death. Meanwhile, the rescued caver at the bottom of the pothole was showing signs of shock. His skin was cool, with bluish-gray colors forming on his lips and fingernails. His eyes were wide and his pulse was rapid. Quick changes in blood pressure from the venom could result in death, so the team tried to warm him up and keep his pulse even. An hour later, and the rescue crew arrived. 50 members of local emergency response teams and combined cave and mountain rescue groups arrived to lend their team their aid. But was it too late? By the time they arrived, the caver who was still stuck on the rope had stopped moving. She didn't respond to her fellow cavers when they called to her. As the rescuers approached the cliff, the bees flew up the mouth of the cave and stung anyone within a few hundred feet of Pozo de Gavilan's entrance. The rescuers worked through the pain, and the combined force of the 50-person team enabled them to pull the rope safely through the anchors. They brought the unresponsive caver to the surface as their top priority.
That yacht is moving. Bees in the trap. Dude, this is literally like, yeah, bee trap.
For immediate critical care. Next,
why would you go in the cave if it's got bees?
Shock floating on the surface of the underground lake. Rescuers sent down a stretcher, and Medina helped wrap him in protective gear supplied by their saviors. The team pulled him up through the hellish swarm of killer bees and loaded him into another ambulance. One of the bees found its way inside and caused a panic as they tried to kill it without damaging the delicate equipment. One wrong move could send scalpels or needles into someone's arm, neck, or eyes. Though they got the violence.
I got all the legs. The legs are the worst part, dude.
Who started throwing up after rescuing 2 of his friends.
Okay, we had 1, 2, 3. Oh,
the second woman he
rescued really don't have many.
Spent 3 days in the hospital after she was stung over 600 times. The woman who accidentally woke the demons of the cave was stung 900 times and spent over 12 days in the hospital.
Make it.
The man whose life seemed to be on the verge of collapse bounced back quickly, and he only spent 3 days in the hospital. The final caver, the woman stuck on the rope the longest,
at least for
was
now.
stung over 1,100 times. She spent a week in the intensive care unit, followed by 2 more weeks.
Oh yeah, that's more like it. I wanna,
until a blood clot forced her back into critical care. After nearly 3 months in the hospital, she made a recovery.
Booty shaking.
That day, after the worst injured cavers were rescued, one by one,
I need a little bit more, like, I need more frames to get the ass quake
stuck to his plan, and was indeed the last
to be
person
viewable.
to climb out of Pozo de Gavilan that fateful day.
Okay. So now the ass is gonna go
Calvera Cenote incident.
more
August
towards the
17,
center.
1995. No,
This is a different
the
guy.
names of the involved were changed to
Different
protect
narrator.
the victims. Video, 1995 cave diving. In 1995, a group of 8 trained divers gathered in Tullum, Mexico for an exciting day of cave diving. They submerged below Tullum into the underground caverns and traveled through the columns and walls of limestone. By the end of the day, only 5 divers would make it back to the surface alive. The peninsula of Yucatan, located in the southern region of Mexico, is home to over 6,000 cenotes, caves filled with crystal clear water. Because of its beauty and proximity to the Caribbean coast, they've become a major tourist destination, attracting divers from around the world, beginners and experienced alike. The name cenote comes from the Mayan language, meaning water well. These wells were considered vital and sacred to the Mayan people. They were a source of water, a source of life. The Mayans
How do I want to do the eyes? Because I feel like this is where his eyes might start
remains of over
opening up
120
a bit.
people were found in one cenote alone, although it is unknown when and how they died. The cenotes connect to an underground cave system, a labyrinth of kilometers-long tunnels. All of these systems, at some point, connect to the sea. This provides the cenotes with a mix of both fresh water from rainfalls and salt water from the ocean. The zone in which fresh and salt water meet is known as halocline. It creates a murky and dense blur that distorts a diver's view. Diving into the caverns of a cenote is what's known as a cave diving. It's classified as an overhead environment dive, meaning there's structures above you. This differs from standard scuba diving or open water diving, in which all you need to do is travel up to the surface. In overhead environment dives, you have to either go forward, go backward, or hope that there's a sliver of an air pocket in case you run into trouble. It requires different types of equipment. This difference is what makes cave diving so dangerous, especially for those not trained in it. Once you begin to dive into the cenotes of Yucatan, you're given a choice. You can stay within the limits of the cavern lines, which are permanent rope guidelines, or you can travel further into the cave system. If you choose to travel beyond the main cavern limits, there is a chance you may not make it back to the surface. The summer of 1995 was a busy one for Maria and her husband Harry. Their dive shop in Cozumel, Mexican Divers, had received several calls looking for a guided tour of the Yucatan cenotes. They began planning the logistics of such a tour. Though they were trained open water divers, Maria and Harry had no experience in cave diving. They decided to hire a guide or dive master local to the area they would explore, Tullum. They found Juan, an open water instructor. He agreed to take the group of two to his favorite cenotes that he was familiar with. With a tour guide in place and the diving location set, all that was left to do was wait. On August 17th, the group of 8 divers met at Gran Cenote, 5 kilometers north of the town of Tullum. Along with Harry, Maria, and Juan were 3 Dutch, an Italian, and an American woman. Though trained in open water, none were certified for cave diving. The divers strapped on their equipment, jumped into the open mouth of the cave's entrance, and traveled into the clear blue waters below. The waters were warm and the depths relatively shallow. The group was filled with excitement. They were diving in such a place of beauty. This may have been the most beautiful dive they had been on.
This feels like an AI voice.
Juan had made this happen. They respected their dive master and placed their trust in him. After spending almost an hour at Gran Cenote, they were ready for their next dive.
Okay.
Just south of Gran Cenote,
He's gonna stop arching his back now. It's gonna come back down a little bit.
The group piled out of their taxis and approached the entrance. In front of them was what looked like a giant skull, a large mouth-like entrance with 2 smaller holes behind. After a resupply and re-equip, they began. One by one, they jumped into the mouth of the skull and down into the water below. Looking back, they saw the sun shine through the openings, a beautiful sight underwater. A ladder, which looked like it had been put there by the Mayans themselves, was the only exit. Juan led the group of 8 through the main section of the cenote. Harry took up the rear. The main section is a large 360-degree area, a radius of around 366 meters. The floor reaches a depth of 14 meters. Many tourists and even experienced divers stay within the cavern limits, but Juan had other plans. As they traversed further into the caverns, they became surrounded by limestone walls and columns dripping from ceiling to floor. This was no open water dive. Juan led them further. They traveled into the Madonna Passage, a tunnel leading to the kilometers-long cave system. The tunnel was past the main caverns, past the guidelines, and past the sign. The sign reading, "Stop, prevent your death, go no further." They were not far into the passage when Harry, moved by panic or premonition, retreated back to the entrance. None of the other 7 noticed he was gone. Juan, despite his responsibility, never looked back. The further they went, the colder it got and the harder it became to see due to dwindling light and halocline interference. All the while, their oxygen supply was continually decreasing. The group continued swimming. They were beginning to panic, frightened by the diminishing oxygen, unsure if they were being led on an adventure or led to their death. After several minutes in the passage, Juan finally looked back at the group and noticed that only 3 divers were left with him. They were low on oxygen. He himself was low on oxygen. Harry waited at the entrance for his wife and the others. It seemed like hours had passed. Should he go back down? Then a diver resurfaced. It was the Italian. Then 2 more, Dutch divers. Then a third, Juan. Without explaining, Juan took Harry's partially full tank and traveled back down to the passage. Every second mattered. He swam through the main cavern, through the columns and walls, arriving at the signs. At the entrance, he saw that the seconds no longer mattered. 2 divers out of air, 2 divers dead. There was no more hope for them. He knew there was one left. He traveled further down the passage, and between the walls, he found them. The 3rd diver. It was Maria. She was out of air, but still alive. Harry was now outside the entrance, fearing that his wife was gone. He continued looking back at the ladder, leading into the skull's mouth, waiting. The 3 minutes continued to pass by when the splash of a diver surfacing caused Harry to rush to the opening. Juan swam to the ladder carrying Maria. She was not breathing. He quickly pulled off her equipment and began CPR. A vehicle arrived to rush Maria to the Red Cross station in Tullum. There was hope, but Juan was seconds too late for Maria too. She was pronounced dead at the station. Juan retrieved the body of the other 2 divers, one of the Dutch tourists and the American woman. The death of 3 divers lay in the hands of an untrained dive master. Aftermath. Juan was never charged with a crime, though many believe his actions should be considered manslaughter. He took a group of divers into dangerous caverns without the proper equipment and without the proper training. The deaths led to pain and anger throughout the Yucatan Peninsula. Dive shop owners and instructors in Yucatan and Cozumel were outraged by the incompetence of Juan. How could he lead this group knowing he wasn't properly trained? They were moved to action. They formed an association to develop a list of safety policies and procedures for diving in the cenotes. Those policies have influenced the training and practices of instructors and shops throughout the area. This story is unfortunately not unique. So many divers have suffered the same fate underwater, especially in the cenotes of Yucatan, where divers, many untrained and inexperienced, continue to lose their lives to this day. The number 1 cause of death for cave diving is suffocation, which amounts to
suffocation,
2 things:
no
improper gear
breathing,
and improper training. Without the right training, you
improper
can get
training,
lost and find yourself surrounded by the unknown walls
you're
and
not
caverns
breathing,
underwater, becoming disoriented
oh shit,
and never making it to the surface again. So next time you find yourself underwater, looking down a dark
disorientation,
tunnel and at a sign that reads "Stop, prevent your death," you
spelunking.
might consider heading back to the surface before your oxygen tank runs empty.
You gotta keep an eye on that
The
Minecraft
name
breath
Mill
meter.
Pond Cave doesn't sound particularly exciting, but this little-known cave in Jackson County, Tennessee is full of secrets. The first is that it
Full of
isn't actually a pond,
secrets.
even though it
Dude
looks
sounds like
one.
second thought.
It's actually a spring. The cave system
Earl,
hidden
can we-
just behind this unassuming little
Okay, we
spring
cannot.
wanders back for over 400
It seems we
feet.
cannot.
It's also quite narrow and windy, making it both technically challenging and pretty terrifying.
Okay.
But what makes this cave really stand out is the unbelievable saga that took place in here in 2019, involving an absolute nightmare scenario and a rescue worker who had just been involved in a world-famous caving incident in Thailand a year earlier.
Oh boy.
Before we get into our
So this
story,
guy's
we should
famous.
clear up something that might be a bit confusing. Jackson County, Tennessee is the location of Mill Pond Cave. But
This
Jackson
sign
County,
will not
Tennessee
help
is
me
the
because
same
I cannot
county
read.
Where numerous other caves, some of
Cannot
which
tell me
we
what to
cover, are
do
located.
because I cannot
That
read.
county is Jackson County, Alabama, about 150 miles south. Making matters even more confusing is the fact that these two counties are close enough to each other that, in the case of emergencies, the same rescue crews are often called upon. For example, as you'll see in our story today, the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Rescue Service was called to Mill Pond Cave in northern Tennessee. However, Chattanooga is in southern Tennessee, and it's actually closer to Jackson County, Alabama than Jackson County, Tennessee.
Alabama! Wait, there's 2 Jackson counties?
Teams were sent out to Jackson County. Keep in mind that in this case it is a different Jackson County.
Okay.
One that is more than 2
Thank
hours
you. Oh!
away by car.
What happened?
Jackson County, Alabama.
Over 2 hours away, that's still close as
today
freak.
Is like Disneyland for cave enthusiasts. But Jackson County, Tennessee is much less known for being a caving destination. The state of Tennessee as a whole does have some pretty interesting caves. Probably the most well-known are Cumberland Caverns, which are a national landmark drawing visitors from all around the world. They even host concerts here in one of the larger chambers. If you heard of someone going to Tennessee to explore caves, you'd probably assume that they were going somewhere like Warren County to visit Cumberland Caverns. Finding
Okay.
out they were going to Jackson
I think that's all the
County
legs.
instead
I still
might
need
be
to
a
go
little
back and
surprising.
erase lines on the
truth is,
previous.
most people who look at Mill Pond Cave don't realize what they're looking at. It doesn't look like much more than a shallow, muddy little body of water. If you happen to notice what looked like a small cave at the back of it, you'd probably assume it didn't lead anywhere beyond a few feet. Mill Pond Cave is sort of like a hidden gem. Back in 2019, it wasn't well known outside of the professional caving community, and it only drew
All
the
the
most
legs. I
experienced
think
and
that's all the
adventurous
legs.
cave explorers.
Let's take a gander.
And that's exactly who was drawn to it.
I had to
in
lock
April
in.
of
Sorry, I'm not
2019.
talking about.
Josh Brachley is a decorated
Oh,
caver
yeah.
from the UK. Originally hailing from Cornwall, Brachley has spent many years on various expeditions and adventures all around the world.
Yeah.
Brachley became obsessed with caves and cave exploration during his tenure at
I need to
Plymouth
fix the
University,
legs,
where he studied
but-
meteorology. Plymouth University has a caving club. Josh joined
Caving
the club as a
club.
student, and
Oh,
it
all
instilled
the
in him a
layers together
passion
is
for
freaking
caves that
terrifying.
never really wore off. In the years of wild adventures he has had since his time at Plymouth University, Brachley has encountered countless high-stress scenarios. These experiences have given Brachley a
Yeah,
unique
I'll mess
insight
with the
into
legs
what
another
topics
time.
like
It's probably something I
teamwork,
should do
stress
more towards the
management,
end.
and he actually gives talks at conferences and other business events.
Alright.
Brachley has ventured through jungles, glaciers, and everything in between. But the experience that got him international acclaim was in 2018 in Thailand. As many of you watching will probably be familiar with, Thailand in 2018 was home to one of the most terrifying caving disasters in recent history. After a soccer practice,
Recent
12
history.
youth soccer players between the ages of 11 to 16,
I haven't heard of this, though.
along with their 25-year-old assistant coach,
So it's
went
not that
inside
famous.
Tham Luang Nang Non in northern Thailand. The name translates to Great Cave of the Sleeping Lady. It is
Is a lady sleeping in there?
karstic cave
Count me
located
in.
the Doi Nang Non mountain range. The cave goes several miles underground. Shortly after the soccer team entered the cave, a downpour of rain caused the cave to flood behind them. This blocked them from getting out. Amazingly, they were able to travel even farther into the cave and find an area where they were all, at least temporarily, safe. But it would take another 9 days before they were found, and another 9 days after that before they were all successfully rescued. The rescue effort was a media sensation.
Among
But
Us.
not only the Thai government, but an international group of cave diving experts. Josh Brachley was one of those experts.
Josh
What is probably the
Brachley.
most astonishing part of the entire Thai cave story is that Josh Brachley and the rest of the diving team were successfully able to save the lives of all 13 people. The assistant coach and every one of the young
Kudos to
teenagers
Josh
who were there with
Brachley.
them. After 18 days of isolated terror, Brachley and others reintroduced them all once again to sunlight, food, and safety, surely saving their lives.
Okay.
Tragically, there were 2 casualties in the rescue mission.
Oh shit.
Both were part of the rescue team, and both were former Thai Navy SEALs.
Jeez,
Samad
they got Navy
Kalan
SEALs.
died on July 6th during the operation. Many months later, Beirut Pakpara also died due to a blood infection he had contracted during the operation. Brachley survived.
Blood
the
infection
rescue
sounds
mission
like one of
and
the
went on
most
to receive
terrifying
numerous
things you could ever
awards and accolades from both
experience,
the
because
Thai
where the hell did you
government
get
and
it?
the country.
Where did my
In fact,
blood get infected,
Brachley
bro?
was actually knighted by the Kingdom of Thailand.
Shit.
He was made a member of the Order of the British Empire, more commonly
Why does that man
recognized
have a
by the
toupee?
initials MBE at the end of his
Man
name.
on the right.
It is extremely rare for cave rescues to be successful. For 13 people to be trapped in a cave due to monsoon flooding, and for 13 people to emerge still alive after almost 3 weeks, well, that's practically unheard of.
That's terrifying.
Cave rescue workers know these odds better than anybody. And they know that when something goes wrong deep inside a cave and someone gets stranded, it is sadly very rare that they'll ever make it out alive. Josh Brachley would have been as aware as anybody of how dangerous caving is and how little chance of survival he would have if something went wrong. That's what makes what happened to him in Jackson County, Tennessee so shocking.
In Tennessee, no less. Alright, I'm going to take a little grass touching break. You go out and touch grass too, okay? You better. What the hell are we listening to? Not a huge fan of dubstep anymore. Why am I not focused? Why am I not focused? Why am I not in focus? Why am I not in focus? Grass touch the music? Hell yeah. I didn't actually touch grass this time. Usually I do. I call this the shoulder square. Anyone can do it. Maybe not if you don't have shoulders, but take it backwards. You add a little crumpin. Sorry, I don't know how to dance. I keep forgetting I have a little whatever the fuck going on back there, and I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? Who the hell that? Who the hell? Back to our previously scheduled program. I tried to get him at the end of the story.
In April of 2019,
yes!
Josh Bradley and
I'm good.
other fellow cave divers traveled to Jackson County, Tennessee.
My arthritis
They were there
itches.
to explore a little-known gem for serious cavers.
Are we still
the
streaming
cave at
our
Mill Pond.
iPad?
Part of
Girl,
the reason
hello?
Mill Pond Cave was so unknown
Discord?
was because for generations it was
Discord?
located on private property.
Discord? Hello?
No one who knew anything about cave exploration had any clue about the site until it was discovered in 2016 by a man named Chuck Sutherland. Sutherland is a naturalist from Tennessee. He says that in
naturalist,
November of 2016, a friend
He
of
likes
his
being
offered
naked?
to show him what she may have thought was a pond in her backyard.
Okay, I think I'm gonna do one more frame. I know we've only gotten done like 2 or 3 frames, but we're gonna do one more. And we can continue this on other streams. Yeah, think of the people without shoulders. I'm trying. I try to think of everyone, okay?
Pond because, well, presumably they thought it was a pond. But just in case you're wondering, the difference between a spring and a pond is that spring water comes from deep underground. A pond is just a small body of water. For
It
cavers,
has
this
algae.
distinction's important, but for the family that owned the property in Tennessee, it wasn't so important.
Oh,
At
let's
least not
see.
until Chuck Sutherland showed up.
What face are we gonna give
Sutherland
Mr.
took
Man
one
here?
look at the small cave opening at the back of the alleged pond, and he immediately recognized what he described as, quote, a cave entrance within the structure of the meteor impact at Flynn Creek, making this especially interesting, unquote. He's referring there to a huge impact crater that was created 360 million years ago and is also in Jackson County, Tennessee. Sutherland wasted no time.
Crater, I hardly know her.
Family to allow a diver to explore the cave. He also submitted Mill Pond to the Tennessee Cave Service.
Sometimes
and
I
brought
really,
someone from
like,
New
I'm
York to
trying to
take an
stop
out
doing
insight.
that.
A man named Gerald
That
Mooney.
cringe ass
Mooney
voice.
seemed to agree
But
that
it
the
feels
cave
good.
looked
It feels
interesting and
good to
warranted
do a
further
little,
exploration.
Look at man. Look at my man over here. He's posted up.
The Tennessee Cave Survey
Paint me
scored
like one of your French
not
girls looking
a
ass.
pond survey, he said.
Everyone point and
So the
laugh.
officially
Oh, he's gone.
Mill
He's
Pond
gone.
Cave.
Everyone put your fingers away.
Odd name, but once you know the backstory, it makes a little more sense.
Let's
Within a
see.
week, a
Let's
professional
see.
diver ventured inside of the cave. He reported that the dimensions of
I
the
gotta make the
inside were
face, okay?
large,
Don't
but the
make
water
fun
was
of me,
particularly
but I have to
silty.
make the face.
That means
It's like
sediment coating
when I'm
the
drawing
water's
hands,
surface
I have to
can
like
easily get knocked
put my
up and
hand
it's
out and do the
very hard
thing.
to see for long periods
I
of
go off
time.
visuals, okay?
He expressed some concerns about venturing too far into the cave, despite making a few attempts. About a year later, another experienced diver named Jason Richards
Jason
managed to make it
Derulo.
much deeper into the cave and plot out much of its structure. Richards swam 434 feet before he finally reached an air pocket, meaning an area where he could emerge partially from the water, and turned around. Everyone was surely surprised and impressed at how deep the cave turned out to be. Just a few years ago, those who knew about the area thought it was a pond. Now, they knew of a cave stretching hundreds of feet under the surface of rural Tennessee. What's more, based
Rural.
on this information, it seems
Rural.
like we still don't know how far back it actually goes. Jason Richards documented 434
Jason
feet of it,
Derulo.
but it sounds like he turned around before reaching the end. Perhaps this is
Bro
part
turned
of what
around
drew
in the
Josh
nether
Brackley and his diving
before
friends to
he
Mill
reached
Pond
the
Cave.
end.
On the afternoon of Tuesday, April 16th, 2019, Brackley and 4 other divers entered Mill Pond Cave wearing diving gear. Although Brackley had been involved in very high-level professional operations throughout his caving career, this, by all appearances,
He
was a
decided
recreational dive.
to not be
The
professional
group would be relying
anymore.
very heavily on the use of guide ropes, since Mill Pond Cave is particularly narrow, particularly long, and particularly silty and difficult to see in. Brackley is literally a knight.
I love loam.
So what happened after they entered the
I
cave
love
shows
loam
that
and
things can go
silt.
wrong no matter who you are. At some point, deep in the bowels of Mill Pond Cave,
In the
far away
bowels.
from the surface,
In the
far
in
away
the
from
in the
light of
bowels,
day,
in the bowels, in the
Brackley's
bowels,
guide
in the
rope
bowels. Oh fuck.
In no time, he found himself separated from his fellow divers.
Yeah, that's poop.
Knowing how serious the situation
Yeah, that's
was,
poop.
Brackley acted fast.
Yeah, he
knew
took a
there was
dump.
limited
Yeah,
amount
he
of
took.
time
Yeah.
before his air ran out and he
Yeah.
drowned. He
Yeah.
slammed deeper into the cave
Yeah.
until he reached an
Yeah,
air
he took a
pocket,
poop.
very likely
Yeah.
the same air pocket where Jason Richards turned around, and where the current map of Mill Pond Cave ends. This would have put Josh Brackley 434 feet inside the cave, with no food, no drinkable water, no way to contact the outside world, and very soon, no air tank to allow him to swim back the way he came. Brackley's friends returned to the surface to find that their worst fears had been confirmed. Brackley was not there, meaning he was still in the cave and missing. They reportedly spent several hours looking for him themselves before finally deciding to call 911. Rescue teams from far and wide came from multiple states. Remember I said that Chattanooga Hamilton County Rescue Service was called and that they're located roughly 2 hours away from Mill Pond Cave? It took until 1 a.m. for rescue crews to even arrive at the scene. Things were already looking seriously grim before the rescue operation was even fully underway. Ed Sorensen is a diver from Mariana, Florida, who's famous for making
Mariana
numerous
Trench.
rescues, mainly in his home state of Florida. He was the one who swam down into Mill Pond Cave to try and find Josh Brackley. One rescuer saving another. Sorensen later told
That's how you
reporters that
get
the
a
water was
rescuer
cold,
killed.
and the cave
It's
was
just having a
dark and
rescuer
dark.
go do the same
Described
exact thing the
caves
other guy
having, quote,
did. Be like, yeah, it's
zero
fine.
visibility, meaning that breaking
We're not gonna
or
kill two
losing the
guys with
guide
one
rope was
stone.
like a death sentence. He said, quote, "You could be inches or 100 yards from the line. It doesn't matter because you can't see." Despite these challenging conditions, Sorensen was able to find the broken line and determine the spot where Brackley had gotten separated from his fellow divers. Sorensen was very meticulous and methodical in his approach. He says he searched, quote, "every nook and cranny for a body." If Sorensen, a highly experienced rescue diver, was expecting to find Brackley's dead body, it would be understandable based on the probability. Of course, Sorensen would have been doing everything he possibly could to try and save Brackley's life, but in more than 20 years of rescue diving, Sorensen had only been able to save 5 people. And Sorensen is one of the
How many dives,
rescue
though?
divers in the world.
Jesus.
Brackley had been missing for well over
People,
24
so like their
hours.
job is just
His
kind of,
guideline had broken.
let's
His
try,
friends had not seen
because we're
or
probably
heard
not
from
gonna save
since
him
being
anyways.
deep inside the cave. The odds
Yeah,
of
I'm
his
a
survival here
rescuer,
were
but, like,
incalculably high. But on Wednesday
I've
night,
saved this many
more
people.
than a full day after Brackley disappeared, something
Not bad on him, it's
extremely
just,
rare and wonderful.
damn, dude, we need,
Something
it's
that
2025, you
distinguishes
think
this
you'd be able
story
to,
even further from so many
that's
other
what we need to
stories
use
we hear
AI
about
for,
caves.
straight
As
up,
Ed Sorensen made his way deeper into Mill Pond
for
Cave,
dangerous
he
activity,
eventually made it
such
to the
as
air
this.
pocket. The same air pocket that Jason Richards made it to when plotting the cave, and the same air pocket Josh Brackley swam to after losing his line in the water. To Sorensen's absolute shock, he found Josh Brackley covered in mud and still alive. Not only that, but Brackley appeared somehow to be in good spirits. He thanked Sorensen
Well, yeah,
profusely
he
for
just
coming to his rescue.
saved
He
his life.
explained that he had made several attempts to rescue himself, but had concerns about his depleting oxygen supply. Brackley had thus made the brave decision to stay inside the cave, floating around in cold water and pitch-black darkness, where there was air to breathe and where he could wait for someone to come and rescue him. Brackley had had no contact with his friends or anybody else since getting separated, nor had he even seen daylight. The decision to avoid trying to swim back and thereby avoid the risk of drowning, and to remain in darkness, trusting that sooner or later help would be on the way, is remarkable. Bratchley's faith paid off. Sorensen, euphoric to find Bratchley alive, assisted Bratchley on the long and treacherous journey all the way back out of the cave. The sound of uproarious applause, they re-emerged from that little, unassuming opening at the back of Mill Pond at around 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 17th. Bratchley had remained alone in the cave for more than 27 hours. When Bratchley
27
was asked by the
hours.
rescue crew above ground whether he needed anything from them, he reportedly just smiled and said, "Pizza." I think it's safe to say that in deeming Josh Bratchley worthy of knighthood, the Kingdom of Thailand was not mistaken. This caving story is so poetic and so perfectly constructed that it's almost too good for Hollywood. A valiant young man first embarks on the rescue of helpless children in a cave in Thailand, which, against all odds, succeeds. Then, decorated in medals and honor, he himself becomes the unexpected victim of a caving accident. His bravery never falters. He makes a difficult decision, he waits to be rescued, and then against all odds, again, he is successfully rescued. It's a caving
How about we
disaster
stop
story
going
with
in
a rare
caves?
happy ending. But that's just
Again,
the
he is rescued.
rare. Even though Bratchley was miraculously able to survive, he is the exception. Bratchley is one of the most elite cave divers in the world. He also still had a serious accident with the breaking of his guideline, which could easily have been fatal for him, and would 9 times out of 10 be fatal for any diver. It is therefore both an incredibly moving story and a cautionary tale.
Don't
Bratchley
be
is
stupid
a
and cave
living
dive,
embodiment
just
of the human
generally.
spirit. The thing that drives us to explore, to be brave, to dare to dive
Be
into
brave.
dark and dangerous caves in the first place. But his story is also a testament to how dangerous those caves can be. It was November of 1999. People were abuzz about the new year, Y2K. It was not just a new year, but a new millennia. It was also the perfect time of year for cavers and outdoor enthusiasts to head south, where they could enjoy their hobbies in temperate climates without prohibitively cool weather back home. That was the background that brought professional diving instructors Vincent Scaff of Nashville, Tennessee, and Daniel Patterson from Atlanta, Georgia, to one of the world's most famous cave diving spots, 40 Fathom Grotto. However, in spite of their training and their planning, the pair's trip turned into tragedy in the cave known as Florida's Bottomless Pit.
Yeah, let's go caving in the
The pair
bottomless
met up
pit.
in one of the nearby towns close to
Yeah,
the
in
rock,
Florida,
once known
totally a
as
safe
Zuber
state.
Sink. Once they were in the area, they prepared for their dive, which was scheduled on a Saturday. Both Daniel and Vincent had been to
100% 100% success rate of not dying in a cave if you never go in. That's what I'm saying. What the hell are they doing? Caving for fun. Pit of Doom sounds super safe. Yeah, let's go. Let's go to the Pit of Doom. Yeah, I think this weekend I'm gonna check out the Pit of Doom. Should be really fun.
The scenery of their destination formed a different picture
Okay.
of Florida compared to the stereotypical
good
view
luck.
of Miami beaches. There, in the northern central part of the state, the land was filled with rolling sand hills that met with pine flatwoods and upland hardwood forests, streaked with wetland swamps, bustling with gruff toads calling from the surface of the murky water. With water temperatures around 68 degrees and no currents,
Alright, that's
men
all the
didn't feel
legs.
the need to
Now the
overprepare.
wings.
They could use thick
The wings have
wetsuits
been
instead of the
falling
more
off a
cumbersome
bit.
dry suits. And they didn't need to plan intricate routes since the cave fans out into mostly open waters below the surface. Going near the edges of the cave would put cavers below a rocky ceiling that has nearly constant curvature all the way around. If divers
Your
ever got
mom is
lost,
constant
they could
curvature all the way
theoretically
around.
follow the ceiling to safety. However, deeper sections are more complicated, and the sheer
Brown.
size
Oh,
of the cave makes it easy to get turned around if divers lose their way.
Oh. Okay.
Back in the 90s, the area looked similar to how it looks today, only a little more rough around the edges. Today, the cave divers would have gone past the gate to find a large dock complete with a partial ceiling, benches,
The ass is
trash
shaking
cans, gear
a little
station,
too
and
much,
ladders,
almost
making
like
it the perfect
Jello.
spot for
I mean, we
divers.
want it to shake like Jello.
The dock, floats like a
But
bar
we also
above the
need
water
more
that glow an
lines
iridescent
in these
green
later
when lit
ones.
by lamps at nighttime. The pair had breakfast.
I gotta go to bed. This was fun. Can't wait to see the finished product. Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna take a long time, so this might be some extra stuff, like
technical diving.
extra credit we do
In recreational scuba,
in class.
people only wear one tank.
But yeah,
And they can
I
opt
am
out
glad
from
you
using other
were here with
fancy
me
equipment.
to
Technical diving
embark
takes people
upon
to
this beautiful
significantly
journey
deeper waters.
of ass
40
shaking.
fathom
Oh, he
grotto
doesn't have a
pushes
nose.
cavers
That's
to
why it
the
looks weird.
limits of even technical diving with its max depth
Okay.
of 240
Yeah.
feet, when the hard limit
Good
on technical
night.
diving
Have
is
a nice
300 feet.
night.
To accomplish
See
their
you next
goal of reaching
time.
the bottom of Zuber Sink, they had to bring 2 cylinders of air with proper attachments, and 1 more can of air that they would carry on their side. These canisters could each contain different mixtures of air, so they would have to plan their mixtures before the dive and properly utilize them during the descent. They likely also brought a spare mouthpiece, a reel of guiding line each, something to write on underwater to assist with communication, at least 1 knife or shears, and their fins, masks, and other basics. Other cavers and divers were there on the dock, waiting for their turn, taking part in lessons, or simply chatting with friends as the holidays quickly approached. Once they were fully suited, they stepped off the dock and into the huge pool of water below. They followed hefty guiding lines down to a few training platforms below the water. Soon, the sun above looked small.
What are we working on, gamer? We're trying to get, as you can see, we're trying to animate a mosquito being smacked, and he has like a huge juicy ass. So it's going, and that is because of the Dexter intro. I was watching Dexter recently, and hold on, let me pause the YouTube video. We are also watching some cave diving accident stories, so that's fun. But with this, let me play it for you. I was thinking the little slap you get right here in the intro sounds like someone with a huge ass just being fucking spanked. So I thought it would be really funny if I animated the mosquito having a huge fat ass. And then I'm gonna put it in the Dexter intro. Although I've never animated anything before and I'm not very good at art, but I think it's really funny. So this is what we got so far. Yeah. Once it comes together, it's gonna be a lot better. This is only like 7 frames, something like that. Yeah. Oh, my arms. Oh. Okay. Continuing the gruesome cave diving accidents. I've been on a huge Dexter binge. Me too. Me too. I think it's because of the recent Twitter, like, it's been really popular on Twitter lately because of the GIF guy. I love the GIF guy on Twitter.
Others were disposed of by illicit thieves running chop-chop.
What season you on? I don't remember. I think I'm on, I don't remember what season it is, but I'm on the season where Rita dies. I'm kind of in the middle, but yeah, decided to rewatch that as of late, and like I would hear the intro without seeing it, and I would be like, "Oh my god, someone just got their ass smacked." But it was Mosquito getting his fat ass smacked.
Separated from the parties above.
Okay, let's go ahead and
is an inland spring
add a little bit more.
Property
I need to delete these lines or erase them.
At nearly 88 years old today, Watts helped shape the world of scuba diving. He even created the Professional Scuba Instructors Association International, or PSAI, back in 1962. 5 years later, Hal, aka Mr. Scuba, set a world record for the deepest air dive at 390 feet. And he later went 415 feet down to get the deep air cave diving world record, descending into the depths using regular air jammed into canisters. A feat that was later broken by his daughter, Scarlett.
Okay. Yeah, that's what
Scaff
I'm
and
missing. I need
Peterson
this
weren't going to come close to those
cheek
depths.
to go over
Even at
here.
lesser depths and equipped with better gear, they still
And
face
like
significant
that.
challenges ahead.
It's gonna be kind of
It's
like
easy for cavers
going
to
this
descend
way.
hundreds of feet below ground in open air caves.
It's
because
shaking
air
to
pressure
the right.
equalizes with the outside through entrances or other cracks. But even going just 60 feet underwater can cause serious changes to the body. At the lowest reaches of 40
something
fathom,
like
Scaff
right
and
here.
Patterson would be exposed to pressures of roughly 118 pounds per square inch, or around 8 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. As they swam down, the air in their body compressed under the pressure around them, causing nitrogen
That's
to
not
build up in their
natural.
organs and tissues, a condition known as nitrogen narcosis, which could lead to death. Like all deep dives at the grotto, the divers followed massive
That
guiding
works.
lines that marked different depths. As they swam deeper, they had to be more vigilant with each stop.
That
checking for any
mosquito is
signs within
throwing his
themselves and their
ass.
partner. And they would
Give me
only
some
proceed further down if
nitrogen
both
narcosis
agreed
right
they
now.
were
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. That's just like a
The
ketamine
effects
high.
of deep
He's
diving
just
weren't noticeable at first.
he's
But
on a
as they got
downer
deeper,
right now.
Their focus and mental accuracy began to
I never
slip
understood
away.
that. Why would you like
They prepared for this. They knew
be
it would
on a
happen.
drug
Some people
that
say
makes you
nitrogen
tired so that you can
narcosis
fight
is like
sleep,
being drunk,
and then that
or
makes you feel
even
high?
on benzodiazepine drugs. It
I'm
causes
doing that
mental
like
impairment and
constantly, and
tunnel
I don't
vision.
feel high.
But it wasn't the only problem they had to face.
I never understood that. And
The
then like when
oxygen
you
in their
do like
tank that they
lean,
need
like
to
when you drink
survive
lean, you just
could also become
slump,
poisonous
literally slump
at
in the
great
couch,
depth.
and you're like tired, and you're just fighting sleep,
Prolonged
and that's the high.
exposure to a state known as hyperoxia.
You're
or
wasting your
oxygen
time
poisoning
in
can
your
cause
life, in your brain
damage to the
cells, because I think it
lungs.
does
The
hurt your brain
retinas in
cells.
The eyes could detach, which could lead to permanent blindness, and it could even cause seizures, which would mean death at lower depths. Patterson and Scaff were in the right
guess
place
there were a
to
lot of
test their
lines because it was
limits, and
getting
Mr. Stuba was one
smacked,
of the
but
top experts at the time, teaching people emergency response techniques for narcosis management.
yeah, that makes
Back
a little bit more
then,
sense.
Divers were still experimenting with different blends
Okay.
of gases
Did
to
I
see if they
do
could limit or
the
cure nitrogen narcosis.
little shiny
40
bit? I
fathoms seemed
did.
like the perfect place to test new theories. They had an expert
Mm.
and trained
Alright.
staff waiting on them on the docks above in case anything went wrong.
I think
On land,
that's
air
where we're gonna
contains
call
around
it in
21%
terms of
oxygen,
frames for
78%
today, because
nitrogen,
I'm
and a 1% mix
tired.
of various other gases. Mr.
This
Scuba's
took me
training
like
center at the grotto used
5
mostly
hours. I spent like
open
2
air for
hours
their
making like
dives,
3 frames,
which
and
was
then
more
this
susceptible
other
to the
last
effects
3
of
hours I
nitrogen
made like
narcosis.
3 or 4 frames or something
Roughly
like that.
a decade prior to this dive,
Animating
divers
takes a long
began
time.
experimenting with a new
I'm
blend
more
of
of
gases
a
called
painter.
Trimix, which replaces some of the nitrogen in their air
As you can
with
see.
helium to lower the impact of
I'm more of a
nitrogen
painter.
buildup. Trimix has become the standard for most technical diving
This right here,
related depths.
this
and
is
at
evil
depths
JD
beyond
Vance.
328 feet, nitrogen is replaced
You look into his
completely with
eyes,
helium.
and you see nothing but pain.
Now, while these gases make
and
deep
hate.
diving safer, they can't prevent nitrogen buildup.
You look into his eyes,
Since divers were experimenting with other
and you see
mixtures
the
at time,
souls
it
of
is
all the people
possible
he's
the group used
consumed.
Their third tank for a unique mixture. Their experimental
You look into
method
his
was
other
a
eye,
necessary step
and you
for cave
realize,
diving,
wow,
but it
the
would
paint
be
is really
a
fucked
fatal
up.
mistake. Their battle was not like the cave disasters from open air adventures.
Okay.
They had no deadly fissures. to
People with
cross,
blue eyes be
no
like,
dynamic
literally.
climbs
I think
that
this
could
one's like
slam
fucking
them
bass
against the
boosted.
stone.
Like I turn the
No
saturation way
worries
up and
about
stuff.
buffball. Instead, their battle
Oh no!
would be with their own bodies. If any signs of nitrogen narcosis began to take hold, they had to trust that their
Okay.
training would keep them level-headed enough to overcome a
What are you
sudden
buying?
severe sickness.
What are you selling?
Even with modern
He's like 10,
science,
20, 12 Instagram
researchers
filters.
still don't
Yeah,
fully understand
sunshine.
how nitrogen and other
Yeah.
gases cause these dangerous effects, which makes every dive a gamble.
I'm really
on
just,
life.
I'm just this tan.
Plus, if they had
I've
even
always
a
been this
slight
tan.
cold impacting their sinuses, the depths they chose to descend to could burst
And
their
the fucking,
eardrums if they were unable to equalize pressure.
Healthcare shooter.
Patterson and Scaff
Gave
made
a Pokemon a
one
Glock.
final check at around 190
Alright.
feet. They were getting
Yes,
woozy,
I
but that was
believe
expected. They could
this
still
is what
write
we will
and
end
use
on
hand
for today.
signals,
One more
and they
play.
weren't losing
One more
buoyancy,
play.
swimming erratically.
Oh yeah, look at that
Moments
ass
later,
jiggle.
Their nightmare began.
I really need to work
Patterson
on
thought
like
they
the
were
body
around nearly
and the fucking
200 feet deep when disaster struck.
the
But
head
later reports indicate
size.
that they were around 230 feet
And some
deep
of the
when he
legs
noticed
are
that
facing
they had
weird
been
ways.
underwater longer than
But
they
that
planned.
back leg is doing alright. I need
Despite
to
going through
fix a couple
all
of the
their safety
ligaments.
checks,
Like,
time
right. Can you see
still
my mouse? I don't
slipped
know if you can see
away
my
in the
mouse.
fog of
Right here.
pressure and nitrogen
Alright.
that was slowly killing the cells in their bodies.
I'm just gonna listen to the rest of this video.
Patterson tried to signal the SCAF. In the dark silence of the cave waters,
Hello,
Patterson
Discord?
had to rely on visual cues to get his diving buddy's attention.
Yes.
Scaff
Stop
didn't
it.
realize his vision had already begun to narrow under the effects of narcosis, and, without acknowledging Patterson, he swam away. Shocked, but still level-headed, Patterson
effects of
swam faster
narcosis.
to catch up with him.
I need to.
As he pushed himself, he breathed harder and
Hello?
faster. His vision tightened
Need
on the
to
sight of his
charge
friend and
this
fellow
anyways.
instructor. As he coursed forward, he suddenly
Discord,
felt a tug
I'm
pull
Helen
him
at the moon.
backwards and his movement constricted. He tried to flip around to see what it was, but he couldn't see what was happening. After twisting and turning in the cold depths of the cave, he realized he was wrapped in some rope line. Maybe
Wrapped
the
in rope?
was already there before.
Wrapped in
or
rope?
Maybe he lost control
He was wrapped
of his
in
own
rope?
reel and it ensnared
Dude,
him
God's work.
at the
Yes.
very bottom of the grotto.
Mosquito with a fat ass is God's work.
Patterson took a moment to center himself and calm down. He began methodically
take this chat
following
off.
the line and untangling himself
Hello?
from its grasp.
Goodbye.
It took some time.
Now we can
And when
see.
he was
Now we
done,
can see.
Scaff was nowhere to be seen. Patterson realized his time was almost up. His primary air supplies were running out of gas. At this rate, he'd die before he finished the final phase of their planned dive, decompressing.
You would die.
Like shaking a bottle
Dive.
of soda, the compressed air absorbed by Patterson's body would gradually release as he rose to higher
Sorry.
elevations. Rising too quickly.
Oh,
would be
the
like
fucking
shaking a
heater
bottle of
smell
soda,
again. Oh, I hate heater smell.
causing decompression sickness, DCS, or the bends.
DCS. The Benz.
Gas bubbles can form in practically any
My
part of the
Mercedes
body.
Benz.
With
Hi,
burns
I'm
forming
Rousey.
skin, divers
I
usually
drive a
experience
Mercedes
itching and
Benz.
swelling. But if
It's
gas
my
pockets
car.
forming in the blood, spinal cord, or brain,
Have you guys ever
they
seen
can
that video?
stop breathing,
Hold
become
on.
paralyzed.
Hold on. We're gonna watch it. Sorry, video. You're sorry. Girl, hello? I hate having nails. I hate having nails. I hate having nails. Oh, girl, I'm not looking for just Mercedes Benz. I'm looking for Rousey. Is this the OG? This is someone recording the OG. I think this is it. 2 years, 4 years, 6? Okay, yeah, I think Ross will be driving Mercedes Benz as the OG.
Hello, my name is.
This is
my
funny,
name is
watch it.
Rousey. I'm driving a Mercedes Benz. These are my friends. I'm a bar. I'm driving a Mercedes Benz. My name is Mercedes Benz. What's your name, kid? Mercedes Benz. I like to come. I like Mercedes Benz. Did you know that I am driving a Mercedes Benz? No. Show me your card. Rousey, show me your card. Okay, here's my card. Whoa, it's that a fucking Mercedes Benz?
Oh no, not that! The fucking animation on the last few seconds.
My name is Car. Whoa, it's
Whoa!
It's another fucking Mercedes Benz.
Anywho. It's a motherfucking Mercedes Benz. Alright. I think I'm gonna call it there though. I am not gonna be doing any more animationating. Had a fun time though. Nice little short stream. That was animated. Those guys can just do that. That makes so much more sense. Damn, alright, shit. Let's see. Next stream, we got a new schedule. So I'm going to be streaming Thursdays, Saturdays, and Tuesdays. Usually around 6, maybe later. Kind of feeling for what time I want to stream. But I think next stream we will be working on this animation a little bit more. The mosquito with the fat ass. And maybe some normal stuff. I don't know if I'm going to do it Saturday, but soon I'm going to be doing another cosplay. I'm going to be doing the Left 4 Dead 2 witch. The wig. And we're going to be playing some Left 4 Dead 2 with randoms. And it's going to be fun and spooky. And join the Discord so you can vote for the next ones. Because I'm going to be doing cosplay for Halloween even past October. I could be doing it well into February. Who cares? Life isn't real. See ya. It says invite invalid. What the fuck? Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will DM you the link. Bye.